Rainn. Supposing truth is a woman, what then? Friedrich Nietzsche. The Queen's Cut Bar and Grill has one phone booth. Sar waited impatiently to use it. He'd be kicking low at the glass door on a glistening crack. He had this crazy look when he waits. In the meantime, he observed someone literally trash the 8-ball. That he found amusing. Darts missed the board. He was in hysterics about that too. Disintegration by the Cure played in the jukebox, its opening instrumentals glazed over the sober and the drunken, and the divine mothers in drag with ice-cold drinks occupying both hands. It even had those little tropical umbrellas leaning on fogged-up rims. These women or men, human or other, began sensually dripping with each lethargic sway. Sar was awestruck by how unapologetic Lady Liberty is as her articles of shame falls off, piece by piece. Amid sardine-packed bar tables, a divorcee raised her gin-soaked palms for refills. At one end, the bartender pops a 50-year-old champagne, hitting the overhead lights on its protective shield, making a throng of lovely ladies with sunset lips and bodies all done up move wildly off their stools. Their skinny arms were raised up high as non-existent showers, as their pinball eyes searched, and the shrill voices asked no one in particular, "Where the heck did it go?" "The cork just rolled underneath something or other," the bartender would say assuredly. Across the tiredly lit floor, I heard a white man talked in Vietnamese, scaring off a retired veteran, scouting for another lonely seat. Small lines formed by the gender-neutral bathroom's cement hallway. Each were exchanging the most subtle meanness and misplacing suspicious glances upon their fellow brethren. The commonalities of having full bladders weren't typically a launching pad for long-term companionships, so they mostly remained to themselves. Sar quickly got bored of the sights, so he tapped his uncut fingernails manically at the glass. A middle-aged woman in a homemade white dress holds up 2 fingers, indicating that our hero waits 2 more minutes. Either that or Sar was told to shove it. Just then, this ghost bride threatens to hit Sar with the phone. Anger was a good look on her. The sudden contact stimulated something funny inside him. Just then, her verbal assaults for the inaudible recipient at the other end reached its operatic conclusion. The door slides open, as if kissed by a hurricane, and she'd bump shoulders with Sar as if they were old pals, long-time cellmates who wouldn't hold a grudge as to understand. "It's all yours, bastard," the woman would say to Sar before regurgitated by an orgy of hungry shadows. Sar walks inside the phone booth, a little hard from that woman's last departing words. A barfly came in too. The right hand swats away, while the left punched the numbers. Afterwards, he took an iron pause to contemplate if they were the correct ones. It came true. Each heavenly ring chases the peace away. The fly had other agendas. It lands on his knuckles nonchalantly. Wanting to kill the tiny intruder, his hand opens like a dying star, provoking its retreat into the blackness. But immediately, its flight pattern changes, landing on our hero's knees. The call is received, and breathing on the other end offends his contrived sigh. Sar straightens his shoulders and tucks his hair from receding forehead into his army cap. He'd sit comfortably back, as if most wonderfully awaiting to surrender to rented jaws. Watching people through the glass calmed him down some, while he fingers the file cabinets of his mind for introductory words of care and sympathy, one of purest sincerity if he must. It was a scheduled call with his scheduled father. "Hello, Sar? Can you hear me clear?" Roman always began his usual way. Sar said appropriately. "She's gone, Sar. Your grandmother's dead. I'm flying out there on Thursday." I already got your ticket, so packing up clothes for a few nights, couple of days at best. Oh, and bring that suit I got you, if it still fits. Daniel already set the funeral for Sunday afternoon. Roman rambled as he's known to do. Sarah listened intensely, but every word landed a tremendous distance from his heart. It was complete deafness where he sat in dust. Hello, you still there? Sarge almost choked on something thick after a broken exhale. You're probably wondering how she died. Roman sounded as if choked by a broken exhale too. She hanged herself in the orange grove. I'm sorry, I know she means a lot to you. Sorry for what? She made a choice to do something. She did it. That's that. Sarah went dead silent for a minute or two. Roman advanced. Quick, deflecting, son. You can cry over the phone. You've got your mother to thank for being so damn jaded. I'm processing it, I guess. Sarah adjusted the phone to the opposite ear. Where the heck are you anyways? Hear me out. Why don't you come over, have a drink with me? I won't even bring up your resignation. Just, I'm busy. I can't. Not now. Maybe when you get back. Sarah felt his lungs fill with mercury water. He gagged but stopped it midway. He relaxed his breathing, bone pressed his chest to mute his worrisome one-man show. Are you alright, son? Yeah, I'm all right, he'd wisely crack, closing his paling eyes, loading his misplaced wit, and finally to an ability to repel compassion. She was like a mother to you too, more so than when she was raising me. I envy that. When I'd call, first thing she asked was how you were doing. How she would have loved to watch you become a grown man. Sir, I know somewhere in her heart she hates my guts when I took you away from her to live with me in the States. I should have let you grow up there. Just like you, I miss being in that town every single day. I should have prioritized what you wanted first, rather than what me and your mother wanted for you. You could have had a different life. Roman generously stretched a sigh. I was 7, what conscious choice did I have? Sar would say, unaware of his unforgiving tone. Almost heaved right after he said so, as furious waves inside his stomach grew into tsunamis of molten steel. Can I see you, son? I hate how you couldn't just come to my office and talk to me. We could make other arrangements. The company needs you. Roman knew his sentimentality were effective bait for an affectionate response. One exception was his son. It wouldn't hurt to try, he thought. It did hurt him to try, though. You still got the tapes Daniel sent you last Christmas? They were my father's collection. Is Citizen Kane there? Sar imagines himself compensating for his lack of presence at a later date. Most likely, over expensive steak and a pricey bottle of bread inside a dimly lit whale carcass of a restaurant at the 50th floor of some gigantic building downtown. He could already see his father, lovingly staring at his strip loin. Yeah, I think it's there. Listen, Dad, I gotta go. We'll meet some other time, alright? I just got lots of things to attend to. I need time to reorganize. You know, remove the leaves from the gutter, as you like to say. I just can't watch them put her in the ground. I'll fly home when I'm ready. Roman felt a jolt slither inside his heart's arterial walls, and a fragile warmth throbbed while breathing in his son's words, echoing its aches so as to remember him this way. I totally understand. Call me anyways if you change your mind. We'll fly together. Sar did a countdown in his head. Roman's hammer usually drops by 2. 5, 4, 3. Sar, Are you sure you don't want to come back? Back to work? Roman hit the nearest wall for being the stubborn nut his son thinks him to be. My mind's made up, Dad. I have to go. Bye. Sar disconnects the line. A tapping on the glass startled him into a violent aggression. The woman in the white dress returns for a second round. She looks 10 years older beneath stronger fluorescent lights. He'd sent a loving glance at her transgression, almost invitingly. The phone dangled like the lonesome debris of a swing set kissed by a hurricane. He'd missed the resting dock by a few miles, slamming the glass wall with the intention to break through instead, but failed miserably. Then, a buzzing commenced. The darn fly returned with a vengeance, orbiting his head. It flew into the bar lounge, scouting for a more appreciative, sitting, lying, walking, talking turd. Sar didn't bother setting the phone back properly, and slides the glass door violently open, letting himself out. His energy was of a hatchet descending on a tied-up hitchhiker. His eyes found the passionless bride's mouth, revealing her misproportioned front and bottom teeth. "It's all yours, bitch," he'd say to the caverns of her now gaping jaw. Sar heads gracefully for the bar. How the end always is. How the end always is. How the end always is. Piles of peanut shells littered the bar counter, all belonging to one ignominious elephant who reviewed his mess with a shrug before leaving without notice that he had to make a call. The bartender sweeps it with a tiny brush into a trash can. His expression was of a new mother changing her 1000th diaper. Jackson greets Sar's return with a dead-eyed nod. "Jimbo just left. He said the wife's going into labor soon. Your drinks are already paid for. He told me to get you a ride home if you decide to be reckless." What's with the wicked smile? Your wife in labor too? Sar collected himself and was only half conscious of Jackson's report. He sits on his cold stool, digs for unripe peanuts, pops one of its innocents and chews, as if he were a mindless pig head deep in its trough. He looks up suddenly, holding Jackson's watching eyes, making both men adequately uneasy. Jackson is this 6'4" skinny black man in his late 20s, with a zebra-striped shirt, modeling long braids for hair, tied into a mountainous bun. He would escape for a moment from Sar's numbing look to listen to the waves of cheer from a televised home run. A few claps from jersey-wearing chaps gathered loudly till it was but a few helpless sparks. A Flushing then tends to duet through the dying notes of some Motown music. There remained a few inebriated pigeons flapping their arms to Lady Liberty, with no bail of flight, leaning over the jute box like a wet rag. Turning to his side, he spots with pride his dome-bellied bartender amusing some tourists with his stories, told with fast gestures and explicit facial deformities. His tongue was out at some point. The tourists clinked glasses with their chosen brown. Down it went their test tubes. His longer stories are more exhilarating to listen to, drunk and half there. Finally, with a grain of awe, one of his new hires, an out-of-town girl of 23, is writing her number on a napkin. Just before she punches out, her abalone cheeks were blushing redder than the red wine she's pouring for this finely suited 47-year-old bachelor who's very glad the young miss hasn't seen this movie before. Jackson knew that she is a great actress behind the apron. Her resume was mostly improvised. It impressed Jack more than it offended him. Just now, Jackson met the darling's eyes, farewelling, leading herself out the door, while her tuxedoed torpedo follows suit. "Everyone seems so happy. I wanted in on their dopamine trance," Sar the happy trying dope said. "Everything alright? You seem off," Jackson the master of sincerity observed behind his friend's words. "Don't worry about it. So, what is Jimbo naming the kid?" "Fritz. He is going to name his spawn Fritz. Sar popped up Peanut and mechanically chews, watching Jackson's wide eyes as it stares aflame at a new pile of shells growing taller with each tone-dead answer. Jackson adores Sar's company, anyway, and all its many hells and mass graves of peanut shells. So he's naming his spawn after the butcher of Hanover. Who's Hanover? Sar asked on a dry chew. This German serial killer from the 20s murdered 24 boys. Tough shit. No, you psychopathic analyst. Why would you know so much about that anyway? Everyone's got a hobby. Aren't you curious too about what makes people tick? Jackson inched his head closer to Sar, almost touching noses. Both cleared their throats and forced an inborn cough, until the other is miles away, equally uneasy. The kid after this philosopher. It's become like his mistress. Shh, Jolin would tell me, this one time, how jealous she gets at the way Jimbo looks at this dead man's books. He's not a fucking serial killer. Well, kind of. Jimbo would always tell you something this man wrote, followed by, it kills, doesn't it? Zara acknowledged Jackson's attentiveness with a supercharged dramatization of the face Jimbo makes in regards to what kills. I see. A purple lady with bruising beauty would wave and screech from the rims of the bar. Jackson, with straightened posture, looked rather ponderous. He's nodding unconsciously, lost inside one of his serial killer files. He's known to drift off like this when he is polishing glass with this sacred clot he brought back from his trip to India. Finally, he'd somewhat returned to the bar, although with a dead toll in his mind, imagining a lunatic walking free, stopping by to pour the animal a drink before a psychosis. This lingering smile on Jack's face did a number on a few scanning eyeballs. Jack's fantasias were paused, as his head resurfaced from the swamp waters. This lady speak, and her attempt at breaking his trance she thought was weak. Getting back to the present is trying sometimes for Jack. Sarah observed him when the muted television played nothing good. Be with you in a second, my dear, he'd say to her fragile atmosphere. Jackson spots a new pile of peanut shells, larger than the one he recently cleaned. He found Sar's adhesive glance mystifying as he cleared the counter with trying grace. Still, I would have liked to be right. I know you do. Anyways, he's got this total hard-on for this guy's books. He keeps them everywhere in our apartment, as if he's expecting us to one day spread his legs open and stick our noses in. Jimbo acts as if he's a changed man because of what a fully realized one wrote 100 years ago. Sar hollows his drinking cup, partially chokes on his swallow, spirit all felt up by the alcohol. He adds, oh dearie, I forgot to mention, the bastard takes every opportunity to wrap one up as a gift, be it your birthday or Thanksgiving or Christmas Day. He even gave me one for Halloween and was like, this will scare the shit out of you. Bert and Harold are sick of it too. It does burn nice in the fire though. Sometimes when Jimbo is away at work, the three of us would read passages to each other and burn it in the bucket. I see. Anyways, it's the only way any of us read these days. Sar scratched at the tip of his nose with a razor-sharp fingernail. Which philosopher, prophet, or whatever? Jackson was utterly engrossed and entertained by this ranting elephant at his bar. Friedrich Nietzsche? Sar had trouble with the last part, but sneezed its essence with class nonetheless. Jackson nods once more with the blankest care, as he fills a wooden bowl with more peanuts, and snaps a quick look at Sar's nude glass. Sar places one alabaster hand over it. How come? The ever so considerate bartender said. I'd like to stop at 3. How about 2 fingers of bourbon instead? Go heavy on the ice. Thanks, my gargantuan friend. Jackson complies with Sar's drink request and was blushed by the compliment. Then he finally arrives to be in servitude of the woman he shrugged off for a long minute. The purple lady sat there. Her heart felt rotten, decomposed down to her bolts. A shot of vodka in the house from the compassionate bartender felt so sincere, it overwhelmed her. She took it down with tearful eyes and laughed. Fritz, 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 say, don't that word mean something's not working properly? Like that jukebox is on the fritz, or the urinals are on the fritz. That's why the floor's been flooded all afternoon. It's been the longest game of whodunit. Jackson's beastly giggle sent goosebumps to those who'd known great fear. Fascinated by how Jackson's mind calibrates, Sar snaps more peanuts into halves and takes a sip of bourbon. He'd melodically squeeze 3 limes and 1 lemon into it, stared sorrowfully at a slice of orange, and bites into its bitter pulp. Jackson, the lost groom, unties his bun, lets it land sweetly on his shoulders like tween landslides, and reties it. It was painful to watch how tightly he locked it into place over his head, resembling a large rattlesnake. Jack all of a sudden grew 3 inches taller. I don't get why he can't just name the kid Frederick. Sounds damn better than Fritz. Well, 2 things. It has the word fried and rich in it. Our Jimbo loads anything fried or cooked with fatty oils. I've never met a person so damn health conscious. As for the rich component in that god-awful name, Jimbo is not. His wife Jolene is, though. Her great-grandparents have that war money. Sar emptied his drink through the canals of his flammable throat. I know it's stupid, but Jimbo is better friends with words than his actual friends. Naming his fawn isn't going to be by putting 2 words together that are against his principles or values. If our apartment is on fire with me, Bert, and Harold burning in it, heck, even if he left the thousands he keeps in a safe inside his closet, he keeps his money in a safe? Jackson repeated his statement to make sure he heard Sar's bars correctly. Jimbo doesn't like banks. Me neither, but I don't go around telling people where I keep my money hidden. Attacked Jack with rhythmic jabs at the counter. The shells rose millimeters high as if some black magic were at play. Anyways, none of that matters to Jimbo. As long as his wife and child are alive and safe, man is content. I can't be like Jim, can you? Hey, Jackson? Sar's tongue danced at the end, all lovey-dovey and whimsical, as a jester with strap-on wings. Can I what? Burn the apartment down? Sar's cold stare steamed. Jack felt his hair touch the ceiling. Shouldn't we save the safe first? Both shone with adequate bliss, laughing so hard as to come out at the other end, deceased. Lewis wipes the counter where the murder of tourists sat. Sar still remained dusting. Jackson was in an unexpectedly good mood. He turns to the 2 love-making souls nearby to show off his high. I just got $123 in tips. This one dude had a vasectomy. They were celebrating or something. Jack and Sar looked the well-fed tiger in its radiant eyes. Boy, do you even know what a vasectomy is? Jack asked with his razor brows arched. I'm not even sure that was what they were celebrating. It was either that or cancer. Sar held Jackson's hand and looked up at him like a proud spouse. You keep hiring them young. Their limit of discomfort was reached. Their blushing cheeks sent Lewis into laughing fits. He's probably not much older than you. Jackson began thinking really hard. Smoke lines escaped his asshole. I'm 24. You hired me. You should know. Lewis turned away to spit on the trash can near the sink. Christ, I bet you looked 14 when you were 20. Do you have children, Lewis? Sar capped another peanut and forgot about what to do next. Lewis fills the void. I do, the young bartender would say, real humble about it too. Jackson intervened and thought the question was for him. Actually, he has 3 beautiful kids. There's Jackson, named after me, then Ed, and finally little Cleopatra. No, you precious idiot, that's not their names. Robert is 1, Rosa is 3, Roger's 5. He's starting school in September. Lewis corrected with genuine delight too. Ain't he a proud parent? Jackson remarks. Yeah, Lewis confirmed. Jackson puts an arm around Lewis, failing to be intimidated, more so to make the free-spitting fellow uneasy. How about your education? You could still be somebody in this world, a contender in the game. And where are you going, calling your boss an idiot? Jackson squeezed tighter, enjoying such brotherhood with Lewis. Precious idiot, Lewis corrected, finally being let go of the black serpent's bind. Rabbits, you young people, I swear, Sar remarks, truly astounded. Jackson raises 2 fingers at Sar. They're from 2 different women, too. Lewis sighs, then smiles at Sar with integrity intact. I actually like being a father. The phone rings behind Jackson. He picks it up blindly, answers it warmly with a heartfelt hello. He then blocks the receiver momentarily, pressing it to his chest. Lewis, good interview. I got it handled here. Now, while it's slow, I want you to go back to the bathroom and mop the floor's desert dry. Call Lucas. Jack's professional tone of voice even made Sar sit up. Lewis perked up, nodding and a bit shaken everywhere else. Who the hell is Lucas? Lewis asked before he hurled. The plumber. His card is somewhere in the drawers, by the menus. Jesus. Jack sighs. Sar's breathless. Lewis was behind himself. Get him down here for tomorrow, or at least time possible, heard? Lewis returned to his body. Yes, heard. He left their sights, then returned almost regretfully so. His shadow is gone, entirely, tucked underneath the peeling carpet where it felt safe. Where is the mop solution? Jack made his way to the confident man. It's in the back cabinet. Look for the poster of Miss July. Not Miss August, Miss July. All the cleaning supplies are behind her. He'd pat the man in the back, and funny enough, he didn't shrivel. Lewis went on his way without any gratitude for being given the guidelines to his last few directives before he's allowed to return to his precious bed. Think of your 2 kids while you're doing it. Do it just as proudly. Sar sat on a dirty smirk. In your head, are you imagining him staring lustfully into Miss July? I've seen Miss July. She's a knockout. Miss August, though. With heartbeat sent on oblivion's hearse, Jackson answered with a plain no. Moments later, Lewis emerged from the back room, dragging a mop bucket with a mop stick held together by duct tape in 3 different areas. Sar gives the boy 2 thumbs up. 2 wheels broke off some time ago, yet he dragged away, playing it super lax and cool. Jackson went on to his call, pressed the receiver gently onto his happy elf ears. I'm sorry about that. Yes, this is the Queen's Cunt. How may I be of help? Oh, yeah, that was indeed my heart beating. Sorry for the long wait. Yeah, insolence in the workplace. Yeah, I know, Sar. He's still here, in fact. Yeah, he says he likes to stop at 3. Yeah, bourbon, 3 limes, 1 lemon, oh, and a poor orange. Nah, just a slice it, as if you have God's all-seeing eyes. Now why would you be watching over this loser? Jackson lapsed with a friendly color for a whole minute. Sar stretched an arm over and snatched the phone from Jackson's toasted ears. After getting too cozy with his chimney mouth, spitting fire. It's the man on his first rodeo, Jackson said, rather savoring the last ounce of joy from a conversation which felt like it could go on a century more. Sar adjusted the phone to his ear, rather twisted the cord to save his glass from being knocked off. He then started gathering the peanuts he'd freed from their pods. A whole 5 minutes of work. Lined them up like soldiers, then begins flicking them rapidly at Jackson. In 2s, Jackson would catch some of the flying pellets with his mouth. After the cute game, the 7-foot monster would relax his elbows on the counter, hoping to listen in on the call. His spear-pointed chin rested on his large, delicate hands. Sar hollows his glass of bourbon, which now mostly consisted of melted ice. He'd upturn the glass, free the limes and lemon to resume the induction of harm at this enormous fly with the name of Jackson. Congratulations, buddy. I can't wait to see the little hurricane. I mean the kid. All right, give Jolene a kiss on the skull for me. Later, Jimbo. Sar ends the call, unwraps the wire from his hand and pushes everything away to Jackson, who places it carefully on the wall. Lewis comes back, just in time, a little perspired from mopping. He catches Sar and Jackson's skull-fucked gaze. I'm finished. Lewis would sound rather unsure of his slippery statement. Jackson continued drying his liquor glasses with his holy rag. Lewis, be a dear and sweep the scrap up. He'd point to the aftermath of the war SARS waged. It produced the most fun he'd had all night. That Jackson's had all week too. It was SAR's first visit in a long time. The immeasurable mass is always indicative of time well spent. Broom is behind Miss August. You can't miss it. SAR beats Jackson to it. Christ. The Queen's cut never looked better. Having SAR here, still here, left in him an abiding high. Jackson has two favorite time with his bar. Opening time, he likes for the first responders with an alcohol emergency. They were the most beautiful people in his eyes. While drunk on the morning sun, conversations with these solar souls felt like being on white sand beaches with nobody around but you and your honeys. Closing time, he likes for the most genius display of sorrow, arrested by the neon lights, as his confined universe is spotted of its mossy and molding figures, listening for the white noise as it confers with the unexplainable rhythms their collection of worms would create using each of their 5 hearts. He would only classify them as eternal classics in heaven's truth Bible. SAR sat in the phone booth for the last 15 minutes. His left knee is recovering from painful contact with the leg of the table. The bourbon never let him down before, literally speaking. He was tempted to call his father about the job, about that drink he offered. Cry for him, maybe. He wasn't sure anymore. The phone lay on his lap like a dead creature. Lewis is waving goodbye to the other bartenders by the doorway. He asks for longer hours, so he is the one to see them off each night, along with the last responders, zigzagging to their cabs. Something about being the last adorable face they saw served his ego vanity some. The bell chimes with each ass he sees out. Before this, he'd spent evenings on the basement gym of his apartment. After the wife was satisfied with his performance, and his oldest kid had a passage read from Marcel Proust's In Search of Lost Time. It was his first wife, Emma's idea, daring to say they'd finish all 4,000 plus pages before their child Roger turns 5. She died during childbirth, so he reads to Roger alone. His 2 younger children, Robert and Rosa, from his second wife, unfortunately weren't into it. Their mother actually disliked the idea, so she was happily in charge of reading the silly picture books and newspaper comics to them. Although, respectfully enough, she let Louis keep that ritual with his first son. It kept the kid's mother alive somehow. No wonder they were still on Swan's Way. One of last night's passages arrived without his permission. Marcel is known to do that, his first wife would say. Louis began lifting the chairs onto the oak wood tables. It helped him to keep a mantra. We are healed of a suffering only by experiencing it to the full. He said it once to himself before it retired into his head and heart. Just then, he spots SAR in the phone booth. The sight of him made his chalice of suffering fill faster. The man in the standing coffin seems to be pressing one button over and over, making sudden eye contact. Louis gave him a thumbs up. SAR returns it with a nervous shake. As he lifts the last chair, a golden necklace fell to the floor. The poor thing was just glistening there for what felt like eons. What a purely blissful phenomena, he thought. It was Rosa's birthday in a week, and her mother always spoils his daughter with gold. This orphan jewelry would save them from spending this month's grocery budget on something his wife will eventually take from her 3-year-old daughter for when she's out with the girls. But Louis knows himself well enough to do the right thing and send this to the lost and found box. Although, as he held it closer to his eyes and into better light, Louis pockets it. Seeing Jackson come through his office door made the verdict of his ethical dilemma arrive faster. Gavel and all. Jackson did this secret knock after he fixes the lock. What a weirdo, he thought. Jackson stands still, observing his empty bar, except for Louis and SAR, still dusting and exhibiting something incomprehensibly funny. He'd sigh at his shelves of imported bottles, especially his beloved top shelf collection, being so damn handsome with its thick coat of dust. With smooth motions, Jackson polishes the steaming glasses spat out by the dishwasher. For a second, horror painted his contented face. Finding the misplaced holy rag brought his facial architecture back into a virgin's wild joy. Lewis approaches Jackson, holding a rather light, lost and found box. People apparently had nothing much to lose tonight. When the shoebox is full, do you donate all this stuff? Polishing with all his might, he looks the Lewis in the eye. We start our garage sale at the end of the month. Do you really? Lewis blinked guiltily. Jackson, seeing sweat form on another man, was a thrill. No, we keep it in storage and get a new shoebox. If it's really important, wouldn't you go back for it? Jackson sets the glass on the hook, watching Lewis chew it, morphing him into a more honest shape that fits his attitude. So, Jackson shubbed. He recalls having asked Lewis to reveal his heart. Yes, I would, of course. Good, now put it away, and when you come back, I'll fix you something. Lewis nods, experiencing it to the full. What? Jackson moved his eye away from the hanging glass to look at Lewis exactly as he is. Nothing. Jackson is filling 3 shot glasses with rum, adding shapes of coconut on each, while looking an equal portion graceful and insidious. Lewis walks in with broom and dustpan in hand, seeing the 2 apple bites rotting in separate parts inside the square mouth of this lonesome bar. Jackson eyed the 3 shot glasses like Lewis would, seeing his 3 kids relaxed on the couch and hypnotized by Saturday morning cartoons. As for Sar, he'd float from the phone booth to the jukebox like a dandelion pleuré. Sar stood before the jukebox, flipping through the pages of music, making silent faces at the selection of soundscapes the machine offered. Finding one, he'd fumble his front pocket, empty, then the back pocket, feeling a tad screwed for change. Jack, I need coins. Jackson, with his peace of mind, was startled not. A hand is already deep inside a tip jar, fishing behind the multicolored weeds of dollar bills from foreign countries. Catch. Lewis is struck by the coin on the back. He acted as if it dislodged a spinal plate. But the man was quick to still his revenge, and instead polished a smile for Jackson to possess. Unlike Jackson, Lewis carried the coin to Sar. His vibe felt ominous as heck, as Sar's eyes spoke not of gratitude, but of distracted fear. So, Lewis looked at the dirty floors the entire time of the exchange. Lewis got back to sweeping, hoping the song will have mercy on people's tormented course. Psycho Killer by Talking Heads began to play. Jackson's lifeless face lit up in no time and began dancing queerly around the bar. His hair looked like a national threat. Lewis emptied the pan's wet jaw into a trash bin, consisting mostly of peanut shells. It was all peanut shells. Sar makes way for his bar stool, lovingly holding his shot, seeing the lovely giant dancing, with his dangerous-looking hair down, resembling starved anaconda heads. It is a lap trip sent from the gods. Lewis took hold of his shot, just as eager to take it as Cyrus threw a knife in the alleyway later. One of Jackson's huge open hand told him to wait. What the hell is this, Jack? Lewis would ask, buttoning close a light jacket. It's not Jack, Sar would say like an expert. Rum with coconut. Go on, down it. Or it's rat poison. Fuck the both of you. It looks like it is. Do I have to? Lewis gestured for Sar to take his shot first. Down it, or you're fired. Jackson did this thing with his voice that could bend metal. You sound like my Emma. I miss her ultimatum so much. She'd give them away like street flyers. Eat your vegetables or I'll use the sledgehammer on your Apple computer. Sleep early or I'll taste you in the morning and pour black coffee all over your balls. Wear your tie straight or I'll cut your ears off. Louis caught the sad hiccups. The man really cried as he took that shot. The other two men drank to that, and while Louis sat in deep silence, all choked up, Jackson hand-washed the shot glasses and hanged them up to dry. Experiencing it to the full, Sar came in with hot compassion, a hand on his fellow human's back. What? Want me to ask Jackson to make you another one? Sar knew exactly what to say, apparently. I'm good, thanks. Hey, who's Emma? My first wife. I lost her 5 years ago. She bled to death, giving birth to our son, Roger. Smartest person I know. Louis shook up Sar's hand. Spinal pain seemed to have gone too. It kills me, not getting to see her, hold him. I'm sorry. Thanks for listening, though. This may or may not help you some, but my father had this crazy wisdom that might apply here. He told me everything in life is tragic, and that every bit of good that does happen is the most tragic thing of all. Sar tried to laugh but couldn't. He fell into cowardly silence. That's not fair. You shouldn't see it like that. Louis set a hand on Sar's shoulder and felt it hesitate to remain there longer than 3 seconds. I can't see it any other way. Louis sighs away from Sar. Jackson is at the far end, squeezing the water out of his holy rag, fresh off the washer. He would wave kindly at the two talking heads, sounding with inaudible mumblings. Their faces oddly resembled this holy rag with folded lines all in chaos. Jackson walked over, expecting to catch a punchline or something, but nobody spoke. Both got off their stools and headed for the door. Jackson began closing the machines one by one, while Louis got the master switch. What remains is the neon sign outside, which read, "The Queen's Cunt Bar and Grill. Now scatter." A frightening chill became aware of the 3 people exiting into the open night. It dared to creep under their blouses. Although Jackson wore only his zebra-striped shirt, he was completely unaffected by the cold. Then, they saw hugging himself, hiding his hands inside the sleeves, making it seem like he's wearing a straitjacket. Jackson locked the door, 3 padlocks in total, and a security code of 12 digits. Here, for your walk back into wherever you're from. Now go, Jackson said, holding a bag of peanuts to Sar. His parting gift was received behind a cold, steaming thank you. How's he getting home? Sar would wonder out loud, lifting his peanut sack to Louis's face. I was going to drive him home, but I could leave him with you. Promise me you'll water him 3 times a day. Jackson cracked. Seriously, you don't have to drive me home. I get my best thinking done riding the buses. No, buddy. There are no more buses after 2. I'll let you keep the golden necklace. Yeah, I saw it. Heck, I was going to pawn it myself. People are super careless with their jewelry. Better it goes to my favorite underpaid bartender, right? Don't forget master of tips, Sar butt in. So I let you do this good deed for me and I keep the golden necklace? I still don't get it, Louis said while making his way to Jackson's truck. Thanks, I'll see you around, Sar. Louis nicely set a hand on Sar's shoulder while he said that fleeting kindness, which Sar atoned for with a nod. Jackson caught Sar before his body made a 180-degree turn. Want to ride? We're headed your direction. No, you're not. Okay, we're not. But I don't mind. Please, allow me. No, I'm good. The walk will sober me up. And since when do you carpool with anyone? That one time I was here with Bert and Harold. You didn't even order us a cab. I hate Bert's guts, and Harold makes me uneasy. But you, my friend, I enjoy you immensely. Plus, it's Jimbo's orders. Jackson straightens up like a cadet, all joyous under the moon glow. As for why I'm giving that rabbit a ride, it's because Emma meant a lot to me. Before Louis, she came home to me. I understand his loss more than anybody. I see. Jackson lights 2 cigarettes on his lips and passes one to Sar. Visit more often. We'll see. Sar would say, smiling widely, turning away and walking towards where he believes the direction of home to be. A few months ago, Denya sent Sar a letter. She spoke about how quiet his grandmother was in the garden, biting into oranges while reading to the old woman Dante Alighieri's The Divine Comedy. Danya would go on about how weakly she'll sometimes reach out her frail hand to turn the pages for them both. It broke her heart how the stubborn woman won't listen. Just listen. The last memory Sar remembers of his grandmother is of her carrying crates of oranges onto a truck to drop off at a cousin. It's insane how in a single year, she could barely lift a slice to her mouth at the exciting speed she used to. That orange grove was her legacy. Further into the contents of the letter, he recalls Denya quoting a line Beatrice said in Paradiso. She wrote, "Turn and listen, for not only in my eyes is paradise." It was written behind a picture of Susanna, not minding the camera, sitting on a white plastic chair. Under the blue evening sky and inches to one eye is a crescent moon, the same one guiding him right now. These past few weeks, his trips of despair mostly stemmed from recounting Danya's last letter and that photograph of his beloved Susan. Suddenly, he is whiplashed by the smell of wet garbage as the roaring trucks embark on the side streets, and a stray orange dog hid behind a metal bin. Then, after catching Sar's scent, the little beast began to bark, snarling with its glossy, wet biters. "Which of the 9 hells did you come from?" he said, kneeling down to level with the destitute thing. Suddenly it snapped for a pound of his flesh, but missed. Sar got away, twisting his legs unnaturally. "Don't worry, they're coming for you too." The garbage truck arrived, lifting the huge bins with a mechanical sidearm. This scared off the little beast into the night. It freaked to high heavens the garbage woman. Still, she got off the truck and did her routine like a ballerina on ice. Sar opened the sack of peanuts as he passes, chewing some free. He'd make eye contact with the garbage woman, underneath the headlights. She revealed to be quite attractive and slim. Her blonde hair was loosely shoved inside a beanie. Sar's twin blue moons met her green earthly ones. He'd tip his army cap to her and turn away, into the bending path. A few bends more and he'll be home. Looking around, he is saddened to know that the crescent moon disappeared as the lamplight intensifies with each block. Then, he stopped walking. Just stopped. Just then, a cheerful yelling remedied some inner pain and offed his face. A baseball game was happening inside a well-lit section of the approaching park. His eyes glazed over the ant-sized silhouettes as he walked down a set of zigzagging stone steps. Halfway through, he stopped, just stopped. Then he hid behind a bush to vomit. He wipes his mouth like a champ and continued his way to the bleachers. Sar went for the unlit bench at the top so as not to be seen. Sar munches on some more peanuts, watching the players in their black uniforms. He began counting them, despite how fast his head began to spin. So he stopped. Just stopped. He decided to keep what remains of himself. The parts of himself he promised to keep down is behind that bush. Also in the cracks of those side streets. Also in the summer-filled eyes of that garbage woman. Her smile just arrived in his memory too. He often ignores details like that. Heck, in the picture Denya sent, he believes Susanna smiled like this too. Sar swallowed an entire shell as his eye traces the circle an ant made. It was nauseating. The other ants cheered for his anguished, safe passage. Only 8 more circles to go. A lanky pitcher throws the ball and strikes out the batter with joy. The art of exaggeration seems to be their personal business. The disappointed player lazily tosses the bat to the next teammate who fails to catch it. Consequently, everyone laughs and whispers among themselves with moist anticipation. Clearing of throats, rubbing of eyes with sandy knuckles, and squeezing of neighbors' hands were the mise en place for the cool brew of comical goodness which awaits their harmonial brew. "Hurry up, Maurice, make it quick like the plague," shouts the lanky pit. Maurice steps beside the home plate, positions his body for a swing. The watcher's nipples rose like bread. The catcher behind Maurice snickers through the cigarette on his lips, pulls it up with a free hand. In the traveling smoke, embraided them all with euphoria. Somebody tell him he looks like a crooked tree, the lanky pit yells. Pass me my chainsaw, the catcher would add perfunctorily. Maurice looks back at the catcher in disdain. He spits on the home plate, after eating drops of his rolling sweat. Adjusting his batting position, he'd challenge his vertigo to do its worst. The watchers of about 10 had their asses glued by the waiting area. They were moaning like autumn leaves in suspense of departing from the branch. Some were cawing like crows, mouths open wide, calling dibs on Maurice's scraps. Are you ready, sweaty heart? The lanky pit would blare. Maurice nods, tips his head forward dramatically. A few cheap claps flew. Lanky pit threw the ball super fast that it was invisible to the eye. The ball lands on the catcher's hand with such power that ashes from his cancer stick fell under his chin. He spits out his cigarette on the home plate, as if punched in the guts. It wasn't the first time he burns his lips like that. Strike one, the catcher blares. Maurice looks around and finds the patronizing faces of his incredibly supportive friends. A woman in a pink hat took a stand and spoke. I'll blow you sideways if you get the next one. Cross my heart, hope to die with your cum in my mouth. A man with green shades added, I'll film the entire thing with IMAX cameras, I know a guy. Lastly, another man in a turtleneck close with, I'll do the original score, we'll win the Oscars, we'll win the Grammys. Everyone took their time, adding more to an already budget-heavy fantasy. Maurice's eyes began to water as he orients himself to the outward lap of the lanky pit and its subordinate black holes. Okay, everyone, shut up. Let's proceed, shall we? Maurice, show me your game face, come on. Ah! The lanky pit would sell this. Maurice was sold on it. I'm ready, he'd say. What? Ready? Maurice answered, less at ease. Everyone went silent in disbelief. The lanky pit adds, Everyone else hard? No, just me. Jermaine. Very hard, the catcher blares. Finally, the lanky pit went for a second throw. Maurice swings and hits the back of his helmet. Stunning laughter ensues as his head throbbed with aches as the overhead lights became this radical orb. He saw red. Rage felt holy. The catcher took his time, lighting a new cigarette artfully. He takes one blissful drag and inhales the newborn energy. Strike two! Jermaine blares. Maurice finds the catcher, blowing the smoke behind his neck. Cut it out, Maurice said, even-tempered. What did he say, Jer? The lanky pit asked. He said to cut it out, Jer answered back, with generous loudspeaker voice. Sucks his mother never did. Sar just couldn't leave it the hell alone. He'd make his way over the fence gate and under the steaming lights and in the peripherals of these darkly toasted helldungs. Sar takes his wallet out, waves money in the air. Then the vomit-soaked Bush proclaims, I bet $250 he gets a home run. That's 20 from each of you, if it happens. That's 20 for each of you if it doesn't. And that's 30 for you, you lanky bastard, for your good sportsmanship. Everyone was behind themselves. A mere few stood from their hollow graves, disclosing threats from the featherbed of their lips. And what's stopping us from kicking you to the ground and running away with your money? The lanky bastard proclaims. That won't happen. Tss. Do you want to gamble or not? Sar asked, as he's felt up by something sinister inside his skin. He's drunk, I can smell the bourbon from all the way here, Jer would shout, giving his superpower a try. So what if I am? Money's money to you kids. Sar felt like the sand moved from under him. Each grain whispered something unpronounced about the tight shoes he wore. Everyone seems to have cooled off. The thick sickness of the individual before them was a hidden lecture. They oddly and interestingly want to listen further. Sar nods at Maurice, smiling confusedly at his new ally. That contact got Maurice back beside the home plate. repairing his faulty posture, and held that bat with a new spirit coursing through him. Sar passes his army cap to the lanky pitcher for his $30 contribution. Okay, we're in. Everyone, drop and give him 20. Come on, the lanky pit commanded. Sar traveled around to fill his army cap with their 20s, while something like massive chunks of hard candy collected in his brain. Jermaine crumpled his 20 and also tossed his cigarette butt inside the cap. Killjoy, he says to Sar with infernal eyes. Sar counts the toll, then gives the thumbs up to the lanky bastard. Okay, let me go more easy on you. Luck favors the kind, doesn't it, folks? Everyone kept their reactions hushed as they awaited the final throw. It is radio silence, and the sand twisted into tiny hurricanes. Each person synchronized their disdain for the moment's faded occurrences. The lanky pitcher released the throw. Sar watched, wearing a wicked smile that made Jermaine unhappy behind his face shield. Maurice landed his bat swing. The ball launched beyond their field of light and into the dark grasses it continued to stretch. The sound of chains swinging could be heard deep into the park. It has buried itself in wood chips. There will be no detailed search. Sar was left in the dark about that, amongst other things as usual. Maurice couldn't believe what he just did. The players in the outfield ran in random incomplete circles for about 3 minutes and returned, coming into the light with synchronized applause. The jurors stood on their seats to cheer in sweet agony. The inhabitants of the sardine can would blare over each other an orchestra of encouragements. Run, you shit-stained kimono, run! Sar watched Maurice make first, make second, make third, then home plate. The exhausted winner sat on the sand meeting Jermaine, who sat against the steel wires, just adoring this kid's hustle. Maurice takes a cigarette Jermaine offers. A brotherly smile came with it, and eyes that were the kindest it's ever been. Far kinder than the infernos that Sar saw earlier. Sar couldn't move, paralyzed into observing. To be honest, he didn't know what to do next. That was insane. That felt good, Maurice said, catching a breath, with Jer's arm around the victorious man. Of course, you precious idiot. See that? Weeks of practice got us here, Jermaine would say, in a tone that discarded and deleted all Sar's premonitions about this man, or anyone else, yet to reveal what's actually going on. The rest of them came over, patting the revolutionary batter, shaking his presidential hands. Adulations grew and unraveled such love. Sar couldn't compute. The outward players came over too. Where did that sister fucker go, Red Gloves would say. It's now a phantom ball, Blue Gloves added. Beyond the celestial rose, that's for sure, Yellow Gloves sang. Maurice respectfully embraced each one of them patiently. Gee, thanks, pigeon shits. Good game. That's when everyone stopped congratulating one another to meet their auditor. Sar felt claustrophobic, but knew he could hold it half a minute longer, and no more. Maurice puts an arm over the lanky pitcher and jabs him hard on the shoulder playfully. Lanky bastard. Upon hearing that, everyone seems to have giggled as one. Sar felt chills everywhere. Kevin, tell the man he can keep my cut, Maurice added with such tribe. Kevin didn't want to. He crossed his arms in frustration but did as he was told. It's all yours, bud, Maurice would shout from a distance, before Kevin mixed shadows with Sar and gave the message. Kevin nods farewell, looking at Sar's stone foundation with disgust. Sar nodded back with a blank stare, as Kevin jumped behind Maurice and carried him on his back, laughing madly. Jermaine kept looking back at Sar with repugnance, and flaming rays, as he blows long lines of smoke. They all got into their cars and drove it into the road with music on high, carrying passengers with a parallel high. Sar held his ground until he could no longer see their cars. But they were still there, the residual kindness from their communal souls. This field of sand and stone will remember them forever. Sar's dark sadness won't simply forget, too. He pockets his winnings, although he felt more lost than before. A smile awakened briefly and died. He'd make it to the swing sets, sat, and kicked higher and higher, trying to equal the elegance those souls in black uniforms perfumed. He fell to his knees after a kick and landed on his back on a small round object under the wood chips. Sitting like a stone Buddha, He'd dig for where it is in the pitch black pool of wood. Finding it, an awful surge of killer air fills his lungs. He lays on his back, lifting the ball over the crescent moon. There it was all along, still guiding him. Full, he cries with a hand over his face. Passing through the sleeping houses gave his restless neurons something to fire on, until a temporal clobber presented itself. As a convenience store marks a bend in the road, a homeless man in front of the store sits cross-legged, waking from a nap. He'll eye Sar suspiciously, smiling gently through his gruff and tangled hair. He'll adjust his blanket kimono, readying a flirtatious line or two for change. That's when a straw hat emerges from the dirt brown fabric like a tiny airship, flying west and flying east. Sar tosses a dime, but the man wore the hat so it wouldn't land. The dime bought Sar a look of pity. Tell me, little man, what's a dime going to get me? Maybe a nice hotel room? I can't wait for my ice-cold baths and breakfast service. Hello? I'd like to order eggs Benedict with extra bacon. Make it a holiday with the hollandaise. Or maybe a nice hand job from a Vietnamese. Sar went low to pick up the dime in the cement crack, but Straw Hat Joe stomps on his hand with a dirty foot. Hands off my sacred perimeter, devil. Little man, don't test me, or I'll cut you like the piglet that you are. I'll wear your intestines like a Hermes scarf, and use your eyeballs as olives in my champagne glass. Piglet, don't you want to fatten me up first? You shouldn't want me, sir. I'm tainted meat, Sar said as he leveled with Straw Hat Joe. Right, I'll fatten you up first, till your soul ceases to breed. Then I'll leave you out in the hot sun to thaw and decompose. Vultures will be circling around your rotting flesh. He looks up at the stars, all showy. There's one circling now. 4. Oh no, there's 8. A 9. Somebody's popular. He'd whack both hands like palm leaves blowing. I'm not finished. I'll marinate you in the city's septic tanks for a millennium. Your tainted meat will be more fragrant than a virgin's cunt. Then you'll be passed around to every saint that ever was or will be, until they all get a good taste. May God have mercy on you, lost slut. Sar didn't know what to make of Straw Hat Joe's pronouncement. He looks away from the man's unkind gaze, then rested his trauma to the unlit O in the neon sign which read, Pen. He pulls the door open, not as a retreat, but he needed to punctuate the death of their conversation somehow. Although he honestly found the man's strange poetry uplifting, rather than insane, totally unperturbed by the attack on his hind leg. Little man, come back, I apologize. Here's your crooked dime. Hey, come on, let's be brothers. Did you know? I can make a hell of a fireworks display. Want to see? Hey, get me some jerkies, will ya? Straw Hat Joe produced a large stick and threw it at the door handle. Sar takes a late step back. The dime hit Sar on the back, but he didn't react. He pulls the door open and entered. All the while, Straw Hat Joe resumes his spirited talk to nobody in particular. He began singing Journey's Open Arms, intermittently with dry coughs. So now I come to you with open arms. Sar entered the convenience store, cowering to the intense lighting, feeling like he's been laid onto a surgical table. In the front register, a red-headed senora wins $50 on a lottery ticket. Cheerful, she dances like roadkill half done. The teenage clerk behind the counter is receiving a call, unamused, biting into a wet jerky. He'd tilt his giraffe neck, pressing the phone to his ears, then using it to scratch at his asymmetrical head of hair, resembling the bush he intimated on earlier. Name tag says you. Sar approaches the redhead, peeling off the dead remnants of joy that stuck to him, being so close to her exemplary humanness. This flaming example began to monologue, unprovoked. All I did was put my parents' anniversary, the number of dogs I had growing up, and the number of funerals I attended this year. All odd numbers. The woman gave Sar a scanning look, as if he's a barcode. I gotta go. Smile, young man, it's a new day, she'd say, and dance her way out. He was eating his second jerky, still on the phone with his boss. Slowly, he'd slip it inside his pants, and found Sar to be an excitable audience. Sar sets a six-pack with one tired hand on the counter, adds a few jerkies. Yu would eat his third one with a crocodile bite. He began taking the phone out of his pants, offering it to Sar. Go on. Sar carefully takes the phone, despite which pit of hell it came from. Nobody's there, he'd report to the young man. He began to scan Sar's items with immeasurable joy. I quit as of tonight. Okay, good for you, kid. What's next? Sar would ask, looking up at the future. It was bleak. I don't know. The kid said it with such pride too. Yu gave Sar his change. I'm going to close shop early. He'd finished chewing his jerky and came out his tight boot, checking if each aisle is clear of customers. Sar didn't move a muscle, listening for how he could be useful here. The lights began to close, and the man unclips his name tag and trashes it. Sar thought about it real hard before he said, "Want a drink, you?" Use my made-up name. Call me Jones. Sar's my made-up name. Nice to meet you. They shake hands. Likewise. Hey, don't forget your jerkies. The kid pockets them all. He's on top of the world. They're not mine, they're his. They look through the unlit O of the glass door at Straw Hat Joe, sleeping with his head down like a dead sunflower. Yu locks up, bottle in hand. He'd used the convenience store's brick wall to pop it open. Sar sat beside Straw Hat Joe, his back leaning onto a telephone pole. Yu bends down happily, picking up a shiny silver dime. My luck never ends, he says, finishing his first bottle already. He sits in front of Straw Hat Joe, in complete awe, while he extracts the jerkies from a pocket, laying them gently at Joe's feet like a memorial gift. Is this what peace looks like? Sar empties his first beer and enjoyed the sight of the future, laying jerkies to the past. It gave him a boost of sobriety that no sleep could guarantee. He hands another bottle to Jones. Jones's quick motions awakened Joe. Sar didn't stand up and ran away. He felt safe where he sat. He felt worthy of the sacred perimeter. Antlers. Bloody fucking antlers. Joe takes off his straw hat to see clearer. He was granted a view of Jones, a young man unafraid. He is enthralled by his uncompromising orb of goodness. Little man. Joe spots the jerkies, all lined up on his blanket, opens one up and bites. You know what would make this a holier moment, boy? Sar pops open another beer for himself and startles Jones and Joe off their seats. Christ, you're here. Jones, what's that pig's cunt doing here? Sar hands Joe the beer, but Joe refused, so he gave it to Jones, the only one the old man would rather receive a bottle from. Mr. Estelle, I have great news. I just quit tonight. That gives us more time to hang out. Jones lit up, clinked bottles with the old man, previously known to Sar as Straw Hat Joe. Jones, here, have the rest. Sar leaves the unopened bottles between them. And best of luck with your endeavors. Jones did not stand, but he did raise a hand. Sar shook it, weakly. Sar waves at Straw Hat Joe. Mr. Estelle, don't fucking call me by my name. Get. Jones just shrugged the old man's verbal assault and kindly locked eyes again with Mr. Estelle, drinking from his bottle to obscure a grin. Here, take one of them, Jones. The past hands a jerky to the future. No, I'm good, Mr. Estelle. The united fronts share an intimate laugh. How's that girlfriend of yours? She a doctor yet? I have the stutter in my chest. Sar was houses deep by then, taking quick steps away. He'd run, until his stomach refused the beer and he'd slow down. He finds a rose bush, channeling the essence of his impurity for a full 5 minutes. Then he feels the weight of the baseball in his pocket, so he took it out and clutched it angrily as he made for home. No more pit stops, he thought. Keep moving. Keep moving. As if Sar wasn't disoriented enough, a speeding bike without wheel lights passes through, startling him. He composes a bloodied sigh and makes it across the sloping pavement, traveling amidst a pasture of tall pines. Sar saw the carpet of pine cones laying there, and with malevolent gravity to each step, crunches them to brittles. The brick building had 10 floors. He made it a habit to enter through their terrace door. Sar spots a horseshoe nailed to the brick wall. It wasn't there before. Was it an omen of luck? He never knows. As Sar heads up the staircase, he saw piles of dead pigeons litter the parking spots. A few were on top of windshields, and one was on the roof of this blue car, still flapping its wings helplessly. That's when a dog entered in from in between restaurant buildings and took a pleasant piss onto one of the deadest, least suffering bird. It caught sight of Sar watching and stuck its tongue out at the perverted human. He continued climbing his way up to the 6th floor. After 5 floors of curtained windows and air vents, humming like whispering demons, he recalls a pause for breath on the 3rd floor, looking through a bravely open window. 2 children in bunk beds were at rest, so tranquil. A dim lamp circled around with many colors, playing a piano melody on repeat. Being able to see them quietly dreaming felt earned. The baseball on his open hand reappeared. He placed it in a small white bowl with 1 apple slice left. He ate it, then continued on his way to the 6th floor, guided by the smell of marijuana. Smiling, he remembers closing the 3rd floor window to keep the children untouched by any of it. Light bongo playing intensifies. Bert stood up as a show of respect for the arriving shadow. Our king has returned. Look what Father Jimbo left me. He plays a horrible beat with undying delight. Harold turns from his chair to greet Sar with a dispassionate look. He'd returned to his game of Mancala with Bert, who found himself pounding a melancholy rhythm and stuck to it obsessively. Harold took his stones after a lucky landing. Bert pulls out a beer from the cooler to hand over to Sar, who he sensed needed one or he'll faint. The throw was expectedly off. The bottle took 2 seconds to descend 6 flights. The liberated dog from earlier had a heart attack and raced to the streets, almost done over by a speeding car. Sorry, Bert would say, drumming his apology. Sar sat down on a milk crate, watching Bert and Harold's contained aliveness. He had no energy left to ask them hard-knocking questions. We found it in a box under your bed. I'm sort of in love with it. She's here to stay. Bert has this childlike smile that one couldn't turn away from for being so simply naive. Harold drank his beer and combed his hair back in sweats. He wore a blanket over his shoulder, looking like a spineless tent. Found Bert's eyes, and it was always first to smile before his mouth did. I don't think he cares, Bertie. This game is quite addictive, Sar. Why were you keeping her from us? Yeah, like, why aren't we settling arguments with this thing? Later, let's play for money, Bertie would add, rather enamored by his great plans for future games. Sar gave them both a deadpan look, grabs Harold's bottle, and down it went inside his dark oceans. We're playing to see who gets Jimbo's computer chair. So, did he meet his kid yet? He never recalled. Here? Sar wondered, suddenly feeling better, now that he's with friends. Why would he call us, Sar? You're his best man. That's why he only took you out tonight. Jimbo only sees us as sideshow acts. Bertie was in the habit of breaking news which didn't concern his person. Tully broke up with him today. Sar sees the glittering set of crutches leaning against the glass door. Tully too. She broke my leg this time, hit me with her car. Bert would interject as his play lands on an empty pool. It was Harold's turn. Want me to tell it? Okay, I'll tell it. We found her sleeping in her car, trunk, and then she tried to drive away. Harold chased after her. Can you believe this idiot? Of course, he didn't listen when I told him. It's a bad idea. She'll hit you. Ta-da! It's getting easier not to care about her, you know. But I think she's doing this to me on purpose. I don't know. Harold burns out, resuming his play, getting the upper hand, gathering the most stones. What did he name the kid? Fritz, why are people so obsessed with names? Sar would observe laughingly. Doesn't that mean something's not working? Bert scratched at his head and drummed what sounded like an extremely suffering soul. That's what Jackson said too. Sar finished Harold's beer and just held it like a lover to his heart. I'm going to miss him, Jimbo, the man who loves lighting candles in each room. Jimbo, the literary nut. Leaving his reading materials. You mean burning materials, Bert interjected. It's sort of sad seeing the place without any of his books. Bert's porn magazines doesn't count, Harold would say in hysterics about Bert's losing circles. It was his turn again. He was like a father figure, you know. He'd be last to sleep and first to wake. Knows coffee. The man gets it. Harold fell silent for a moment. Oh, holy shit. Don't forget about his midnight omelets. Jolene, you greedy whore. Bertie would conclude, clinking glasses with Sar's bottle, still pressed to his chest, and then downed his. He's the only one who was really considerate enough to flush after each piss, Harold would say, almost in sorrow to himself. Flushed toilets and midnight omelets. What else could a woman ask for from a man? Bert wondered, musing a serious tone. Sar looks at this pair of dumb nutcases with admiration. I feel like Jolene saved him though. Harold wasn't done reminiscing, as if Jimbo is his sole personal loss. He'd monologue, as if on stage for an improv performance. Jimbo took her here after their first date. She got super drunk and slept on the couch. I came over to check up on her, while Jimbo was cooking us a midnight omelet. She had the greenest eyes on any human being I've ever seen. She sat with me, half awake, so I asked her what shade they were in. She told me it was the color vomit, a particular vomit. She told me how each time Jimbo hit her with some philosophical line, she'd take a mental shot. Jolene cracked about kissing Jimbo to cut some of them in half, because you know how much it irritates Jimbo to not carry out his full thought. It killed us on that couch, just laughing like hyenas. That feeling of understanding intoxicated us. That's when she'd kiss me and vomit onto my white shirt. That shade I asked about, that particular vomit. Harold stopped playing for a bit, and this irritated Bert. Harold continued to circulate the memory. I got cleaned up, left her alone there. I looked at myself in the mirror. It was like I was wearing a Pollock painting. She was all apologetic when I came back with a change-up shirt, crying so hard as Jimbo spoon-fed her and wiping her mouth like an infant. Chartreuse, Bertie would say, snapping Harold from his trance. Play, I can still win this. Bert felt more hurt from all the stalling for Jimbo's chair than Harold's verbal diarrhea. Harold would whisper curses as he continued to play. Oh, so that's where Char Char came from. That's sickening, Sar said, smiling. Char Char, you're dead, Bert would say, landing a lucky spot that ended the game. He would see the clear board in his home base, having a larger marble count. Never call me that. That's me and Jolene's thing. Whatever. Bert hands Sar his drum. I'll be back. I got something amazing to show you both. Sar set the drum on the table and hit it with his beer bottle, waiting suspensefully for Bert's presentation. Harold was about ready to stand up when suddenly Sar helped him with his crutches. Come inside, Bert shouted. In the living room, a TV is set, and a VHS tape is pushed in the player. Sar sat on the sofa, with a pretty sad sigh, closing his eyes any moment now to call it a day. Tully appears in the TV screen. She'll dance her way quietly to the record player. Dreams by Fleetwood Mac began to play. Tully swaying erotically, touching herself to the beat. Immediately, Bert stole the crutches and held Harold down on the couch where he sat. Tully took off her top. Harold struggles to get Bert off him, and his punches only tickled the large dog. Tully was completely nude by then. Sar was asleep for about a minute when Harold began to scream. Sar stood up and pulled Bert away from Harold, who fell down to the floor, and crawled to the VHS player to stop it. He ejected the tape and laid on his back out of breath. Hallie fucking Burden. Why? Harold wheezed, voiceless. I got another idea, Bert would say, as he ran to the terrace, producing a metal bucket and a lighter fluid. Another one? Fuck you both, I'm going to bed. Harold, need help? Fine, thanks. No, Bertie's right. It's my succubus to burn. Harold got on his crutches. Bert lit a cigarette for himself, inhaling with relentless joy. Sarah's laying on the couch, eyes wide shut. My lighter is out. Pass me the matches in the drawer, pretty please. Bert shouts. Sarah woke up. Harry, go. Send that cunt back to the inferno so we can all sleep. I'll get the matches. Sarah would say, getting off the couch. Enraged by the long night of activities, he passed the matches to Harold and set a friendly hand on his back. Bert set the tape inside the bucket and handed Sarah the fluid. He doused it generously, rather enjoying himself, while Bert chewed at the ends of his cigarette like he does. This is your last chance to heal, buddy. Light her up. Go, Bert said with incredible power. Harold lights a match, drops it in, and watched the tape engulfed by flames. Sarah was already stepping back inside. Harold was too. Bert laughed like a maniac and lit another cigarette with the quieting embers. Good night, boys. Go fuck yourselves, Bert shouted before closing the terrace door. He waited to hear the door slam. One of them always has a busy night planned. A little after 1, Sarah gets out of bed. For the last 45 minutes he toasted in the dark, unable to sleep. He needed to piss. Bert was in there not long ago and had forgotten to flush. Sarah flinched and pinched his nose as he did his duty. With tap water he gargles away the dry vomit in his mouth, almost heaving as he saw the chunks of peanuts he spat out. Then he saw himself in the mirror and wished he hadn't. Sarah heard laughter in the living room, felt the presence of disaster waiting. Bert is laid more relaxed on the couch, arms behind his head, foot on the coffee table. Unfortunately, it wasn't Tully's tape, melted in the metal bucket. Also, Tully seems to be accompanied by another man in the video, and this other man wasn't Harold. Poor Harry, you're soulless, Bertie, Sarah would say disinterestedly, yet is tuned into every muted moan and orgasmic faces, painting their sleepless eyes with pools of harsh throbbing light. Sarah sat beside Bertie on the couch, laying a tired head on his friend's shoulder. Can't sleep. What's on your mind, sweetheart? Sarah moves away from Bert, and his playful hands combing his tie. He knows Bert's foolishness has no limits. Say, which tape is burning outside? Sarah would ask after 10 full minutes of guiltless viewing of Tully's tape, exhibiting feats of visceral romancing, while the unknown man in the video successfully lowers the audience's self-esteem with his massive Citizen Kane. Bert answered, You bastard. Sarah couldn't feel angrier and relaxed. The tape went on for another half hour. They finished 3 beers each. Sarah helped Bert finish his pack of cigarettes. Cold wind blew from the terrace door's open jaws. These lovebirds were in paradise. Tully and the unknown man changed location twice, from bedroom to the kitchen and back again. What champs. Say, what's with the dead pigeons in the alley? Harry wanted to go shopping for a gun today. He wanted to get back at Tully. Being his best man at his future wedding, I said, yeah, sure, I'll help you buy a gun. So he gave me $300, and so I went out and got him a BB gun instead. He was livid. You should have seen it. I wrapped it up with Christmas paper and everything, topped it with a red ribbon. Anyways, instead of taking it out on me and shooting me around the apartment with it, I suggested pigeons. Bert stuck his finger on the ashtray and drew black lines on his cheekbones. You suggested pigeons? Sar nods, trying to forget his dream to live past 30. Yup, I swear the man's going to murder somebody one day. Bert tried to put ashes on Sar's face, but his canvas moved fast, out of his reach. Right, and I hope it's you. Likewise. Dudley smiled for the camera. The tape ends. Their shared kitchen is surprisingly enough clean and organized. This habit they grew to practice in a serious manner from years of having Jimbo play chef for them. Jimbo's workstation kept their bellies full of goodness and joy. The least they could do was keep their collective bottles of alcohol and packets of instant noodles in a single cabinet, so as not to ruin Jimbo's flow. Bert rips open a new loaf of bread, biting into a slice. He chewed disturbingly slow. Sar watches, completely appalled. None of this still made him drowsy at all. Earlier, he remembers Bert rewind parts of the tape and take pictures of it on his phone. New wallpaper, Bert proclaims proudly, showing it to Sar afterwards, revealing that it was almost 2 in the morning. Spending time in the kitchen with Bert was like watching an animal behind its cage. Sar spots a pack of old gum and tosses it to Bert to see what he'll do with it. Fascinatingly enough, Bert would open the last 4 sticks, stuck his tongue out, and in the 4 stacks of gum went. Sar saw remnants of uneaten bread in there too. While chewing with his mechanical teeth, Bert spoke. Want to do something fun tonight? He'd adjust his shorts while saying so, then procure a plastic wallet, pulling out stacks of business cards. Sar sat on the counter, while kicking close, open drawers which were pulled open. That morning, Bert grabs the wall phone and types in a few numbers, waits joyously for a ring. His mud-brown eyes never left Sar, who is still practicing his kicks. Sar saw coffee left from this morning and drank it all down without a second thought, counting in his subconscious the hundreds of colorful gums stacked onto a brick wall across their useless window. The way their gum was placed looked like a fireworks display above a field fragrant with wildflowers, or a supernova overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. You say something, Bertie? Sar only got around to Bert's question now, after his distracted motions here and there. Shut up and go wear something decent. We're headed out. No thanks, I'm going to bed. I'd rather stare at the ceiling for the next 5 hours. Being on the counter took him back to his childhood fear of heights and being placed on high places by his father as punishment. So he sat there for a while, closing his eyes, breathing from the wellsprings of blissful memory of when Denya carried him down back to ground control. Without the foresight to sense his friend's distress, Bertie counters Sar's already aggravated calm, saying, You have no job, no girlfriend, and nothing else to live for. Didn't you piss off your father this morning when you sent that resignation letter that I helped you write? Come with me and return the favor, bud. Bert kills the line of its endless ringing and tried another number. His laughter broke the Richter scale. Sar launched to his feet from the counter with a look of magnified fear. Her 4 looked like a 9, Bert announced. Bye, Bertie. Sar would say enough was enough, he thought. How's your father, Conan? It's Roman, right? Bert sets the phone to his ear, revealing a bandage cut, all pink and thick. What happened to your ear? After a few hours on the roof with Harold, shooting pigeons, I lay down to take a nap. Harold pulls my earrings clean off. I stopped him before he got to the second one. Man, I swear I almost landed a hand on that kid, but I didn't. And I need this, so come with me. Sar listened sincerely, feeling sorry. That's chilling. Now I know why you pulled that stunt with Tully's tape. Anyways, Roman is fine. I called him earlier at the bar. Apparently my grandmother died. He bought me a ticket, knowing I can't afford it. I can't attend that funeral either. I promised my grandmother I won't. Oh yeah? I think you should still go. You're lucky to have a father who still puts in effort. No, I can't. Susanna had this dream about her Orange Grove weeks before she died. She saw everything burning and she saw that I set the fire. Denya, our family maid, promised my grandmother I won't get near her at the funeral. I couldn't believe the woman who loved me most is afraid of me because of a dream. Sar felt like he needed a laugh, and is gladdened to see he still got jokes. They shared a genuine smile to keep things momentous. I turned him down, so twice today I've disappointed him, Sar added as Bert opens a drawer with first aid kit materials. Sar listens to where Bert felt brave enough to need him, so he began to nurse his friend's bandaged ear. How does it feel being useless? Bert asked. What? Sar was in the zone. No, not you. My father used to say that to me every time he saw me. I left when he cheated on my mother with one of my girls. His call is picked up. A crooked smile paints his face. Sar finished applying a fresh band-aid on Bert's injured ear. He stood his ground, listening in to the call. The feeling of a second morning enveloped them both. Yes, put me through to Ada. All right, I'll hold, Bert said. He blocks the phone receiver and gives an intensive look at Sar. Go, get decent. Be back in 5. We're celebrating. Sar began to accept that sleep wasn't appropriate right now. Smilingly, he responds, Why, my citizen Kane? Get over it already. Go. Bert laughed as he said so. Sar followed his prime directive, leaving Bert alone with his important call. Oh, hello, Ada. Yeah, it's me, Bert. We talked a week ago. I was the one who dropped the art. Yeah, the smut comics. Yeah, the ones by the bathroom toilet. Well, that's nice to hear. Thanks. I did work hard on them. Yes, of course. That's what my visual arts teacher used to say. Heaven is in the details. Yes, of course. The devil too. Absolutely. Listen, I'm calling because I want to see you. My friend, he's coming too, if that's okay. Really? Fantastic. Good. Goodbye. Bert puts the phone back on the wall, feels the fresh band-aid on his ear, and is still stung like hell. He takes a few more chews on his gum, while overcome by unequal portions of loneliness and peace. I didn't know what to call the hybrid emotion. The chewed gum exited his mouth and found a home on the brick wall, adding a wet yellow sun in the center of many, many dry ones. Sar's bedroom was nearest a street lamp. His window overlooks the parking lot. He'll open the curtains, lifting up the window. 6 floors down, inside the parking lot, he spots a couple of raccoons fighting over dead pigeons. Sar is never in low supply of apple cores, so he throws them at the battling land vultures and scares the piss out of them. One of Harold's attempted kills only wounded the winged thing, and the raccoons only awakened it from its coma. There was really nothing it could hope for but a slow death, or a fast one at dawn when people get on their cars for work or wherever else they go. Sar strips out of his old clothes and kicks it under the bed. He opens the rickety closet door that gets stuck on the middle and retrieves the first polo shirt his hand pulls out, and he sought after his unwashed dark jeans, which were hanging behind a wooden chair. He puts those on with a degree of quietness he couldn't believe was actually his, and a question arose about which tie he should wear. So he'd pull open a drawer with the dozens of ties Denya sent for his father that he kept for reasons unknown to him. Selecting a blue tie with sequences of yellow stars felt classy enough for the night's unbeknownst fate. With the radiant shine of a lamplight on his desk, he directs its spine to the wall mirror to see if his costume is approved by his inner masters. His lifting eyebrows okayed it. He even fashions his hair with wax, recalling a photo of his grandfather wearing his war uniform. Feeling good, he closes the lamp, even thanks it, stood in the darkness for a bit or two to contemplate what the hell he thinks he's doing, with Bert taking the lead. Christ have mercy. Stepping out of the apartment, they pause to get a good look at each other. Bert is wearing a navy blue suit jacket over a Janis Joplin t-shirt. He wore the same flowing basketball shorts he had on since this morning, at the park playing basketball with Jimbo. Bert only won 1 out of 10 games, even when Sar came to Bert's aid. Jimbo knew with confidence how each play would go. It was a stunning privilege to lose to that man. Sar found Bert's gentle hand on his shoulder, like he does before saying something nice and transformative. Oh shit, the ladies are going to love you. Bert kissed them on the cheeks real hard. So we're meeting your old girlfriends from elementary, right? Sar would ask, wiping the snail slime off his face. That's who you called, right? Bert looked at Sar with such aliveness. Nope, Bert would say, nodding his head in all directions. I told you for weeks now to set me up with that Sri Lankan babe you grew up with, Sar would say, as Bert's smile resembled a shiny metal anchor fished from a coral reef. Sar waves his disbelief away and looks straight ahead as Bert leads. He takes his wallet out and produces the money he won at the baseball field, including the money he would have lost. Bert turns around to check if Sar ditched. Patience, Sara Matios. I said that right, didn't I? His hand found itself lodged to Sar's shoulders again. You'll be fine. Don't think too much. Be here, man. Be here. Bert pulls away as Sar presented him with a full hand of cash. Here. This should help cover what you still owe this month. It's about $450. It's more than I need. Hey, you didn't have to. Yeah, Bert took the money and pockets it. Just pay me back when you can, Sar said. Give me a deadline. I love deadlines. Okay, 2,201 is your deadline. Sar cracked. Fair enough. Really? Thanks. Don't mention it. Ever. Harold finds out about this. He'd stop working at his shitty job, expecting the same charity from me. Sar laughs. Where the hell did you even get this? I ran into some luck. Sar set a hand on Bert's shoulder. Bert mirrors the gesture. Mind if you run into a few more? After a few blocks, Sar finally asks why they did not use the car. Moonlight is healthy for you, plus it's not that far. I make this trip once a week. You're getting a window into my life right now. He'd say this with a childlike hop to his vocal stride. A construction site is active nearby. Rows of dump trucks came in, followed by police escort. The president seems to be in town, they said to each other telepathically. Then, like a row of ducks, construction workers in glowing yellow vests surrounded the sidewalks, coming out of the huge hole in the ground. Where are you taking us, Bertie? I hope you don't fall asleep. It'll offend these hard-working girls. Bert cracked. Sar walks ahead of Bert to face him, offers the man's iridescent expression a playful slap on the face. Sar raised an arm to recharge. A hen house? Really? Sar dodges the puddles in their path in the dark eyes of the workers. They were performing a comedy special for the co-workers, starting with, why did two guys cross the road after 3 a.m.? Whatever the punchline was, they all came out of their lab trip, very much deceased. Thank God a massive hole was already there. Should we U-turn back home? If you don't want to be with a girl, then just stop by and see my latest work. You won't believe how realistic it turned out. Bert let the second slap land, then pushed Sar on his ass onto somebody's tall grass. You did not. God damn it, take it down, Bartholomew, Sar said, sitting up. Or, buddy old pal, you could do it yourself. And what about the money you gave me earlier? It now goes back to them. Do you want to see that happen? Your friend, the failed artist? Christ, Sar, it was you who encouraged me to sell my work. When I finally did, it is also you who wants it burned to ashes, along with your only copy of Citizen Kane, Bert said, chopping the air with his explanation, giving Sar a hand. Are we good? Bert would ask after a few blocks of thick noise. Fuck, now I kind of want to see it. You're very good at what you do, and that scares me. Sar walks on Bert's split shadow, in agreement to quit talking for a while before another argument is waged, without the Mancala board present. Except it was Bert's turn. Say I really did use your image as reference for one of my masterpieces. Wouldn't you like to at least make sure I got your nose right? Bert walks lengths ahead in case of backlash. Then I want a copy, personally signed by the artist, Sar would say, sounding most sincere, no matter how much he wants the projectile a particular vomit all over Janis Joplin's face right now. I'm touched. I'm fucking touched. Bert embraced Sar. What felt like an infinity passed by. They were in the middle of the sleeping streets too, but wished a car would zoom by. After 2 minutes overstayed its welcome, the two separate, to no avail of bloodshed. Avoiding eye contact, the rest of the way there. They arrived Siddhartha's palace at dawn a little after 3, which is actually just a 3-story building. Miserably it stood, sandwiched between a dry cleaner and a Japanese karaoke bar. They enter into the lobby of the apartment, greeted with the harsh LED light revealing an old man in a green robe, sitting on the staircase, violently biting into sunflower seeds. The old man chose to speak and chew. The sound was reminiscent of when the drain lid was pulled off, inside a sink full of dog water. I know everyone in the palace. I've been attending here for over 40 years. My wife had a heart attack on this here step. I haven't seen your face before. State your business, young man. His fist eyes were dancing all over Sar. Bert stood behind Sar and gave him a push. Answer the man, Sar, don't be rude. Bert would whisper to Sar's ears. We're here to see Ada. Aha, I see. You got an appointment? Sunflower Man would ask this. In the midst of trying to free a tiny sunflower seed, he bit his finger through, releasing a screech of pain so agonizing to hear at a close range. Bert and Sar saw the sign leading to the elevator, but Bert held onto the old man's sympathetic glance a little longer, noticing that the old man longed for further contact with the young man as he massaged the finger he bit. Hey, you with the Joplin t-shirt. Bert is summoned closer, while Sar pressed the elevator button 100 times over. Yes, sir. How are you this morning? Bert would ask. Tenderness was a good shine on him, Sar thought. I'm just dandy. Say, were you that guy who brought in that graphic drawing last week? That was pretty impressive. Mind making one with me and a young Bette Davis? Sure. And what will you pay me with? Did you know I take sunflower seeds? Bert would say, giving the old man a fast one. Sure, why not? It would be a fun challenge to make one of you and Miss Davis. Smile. Bert took a picture of the old man in a freeze-frame posture, biting into the biggest sunflower seed he could find. Sar wondered what Bert would make out of this, and envied Bert's lustrous imagination. I'll have it for you in a week, Bert would say, as the old man stood up and gave a handful of sunflower seeds to Bert. What's this? Bert asked humbly. Down payment. Sunflower Man somehow resurrected lost time, looking 10 years young when lovingly appreciating Bert's kindness. Who did I just have the pleasure of sharing business? Bert would ask before letting the old man's 2-arm handshake go. I be Apollo. I'm Halliburton. Nice to meet you, Apollo. We dandy? Bert wondered as the old man took his careful steps up. Very fucking dandy. The old man made it up the second floor and was out of their sights, leaving just the debris of sunflower shells along each step, and a huge pile where, supposedly, his wife had a heart attack. They got up at the 3rd floor. While in there, they have eaten Bert's down payment. Entering the hallway, the scent of artificial lavender came in strongly, almost repugnant beyond comprehension. Finally, before them stands the only pink door in the entire floor, maybe the entire apartment, maybe even the entire neighborhood. Are you really going to do this? I mean, Miss Davis? Nope. Here we are, Bert would say laughingly. Touching the knocker felt like invading a crime scene, Sar thought. Should we pray first? Sar cracked, chewing on a sunflower seed and choking on a large piece in front of his friend, who had fun slapping his back a few million times before Sar spat out the culprit on the rusty mother knocker. Now for sure, no dignified person would ever want to touch that. Gross. Bert knocked 3 times with fist of stone. Footsteps came in, patiently on the other side. Smile. Bert took a picture of Sar. The door splits open. The Samsara cleansing spa opens its pink door, held by a woman with golden hair in a thin bronze nightgown. She looked restive and in wonderment, as if divine food has arrived at her door, hot and ready to be consumed right then and there at the threshold. Hi, Sar said shyly. Julianne, how are you? Oh, how long has it been? They hugged with the ferociousness of a cat catching a fast kill. Weeks. It's been weeks, Hal. I never miss people, but I miss you. I'm not people. We're gods and goddesses, remember? Bertie cracked. Yes, I do. I really do, Hal. Listen, my darling slept hours ago. I'm really just here for Ada. My brother Sar here wanted to tag along. You're so stiff. Ease up, kid. You're in a safe space. Come in. The door closes, and the two brothers entered, with Sar bumping shoulders with Bert in July, like a stray ball on the highway. Ada's in the back. We have some champagne left, I think. She'll be glad you're here, Hal. What's the occasion? Bertie asked softly. July came closer to whisper inside his ear. I see, Bert said to Sar, who began to feel left out. Her twin sister passed away. That's all I'm willing to say. July looked at Bert with slow heat admiration as Sar contracts the sorrow Bertie felt in sharing that personal info. Julianne reached for a coat and looked at the lost passengers. Sar, is it? Don't be down. For some people, the death of a loved one is a happy thing. Don't you see it's all perfect? Hal, I got a few errands to run. Make yourselves at home. She held Sar by the cheeks and laid a tender kiss on his mouth. He never breathed air like hers before. Hal, where are we? Hal, where are we? The door locks. The room buzzed with caramel-colored lights, and a bowl of strawberry joy candy glittered in a clear plastic bowl. Bert went over to it and passes one to Sar. Here, chew on this and sit down while I talk to Ada. Your drawing is in the bathroom across the hall. Find the yellow door. Thanks for being here. It means a lot, Sar. Sar pops the strawberry joy in his mouth. You're sweet, he said, and waved Bert away to meet the grieving woman. While Bertie was absent, Sar walked around to enjoy the sights. The walls are filled with classy pornographic abstract paintings, antique clay and marble sculptures of the provocative variety, and behind the red flaming bush of a sofa is an explicit photograph of a bikinied woman as young as 18, in a group of about 20, smiling as if it were their class photo. On the bottom left corner, Jimbo's signature appears in bold letters. Nothing surprises Sar anymore. Sar laid on the flaming cushions, shaped like a giant's infected lip, and echoed the words Julianne said, hoping it lulls him to sleep. It's all perfect. It's all perfect. It's all perfect. He slept for about an hour, when suddenly a kitchen light turns on above the stove, and with half-shut eyes he saw a dark silhouette of a woman placing fresh roses on a blue vase. The running water aimed to lull him back, but this curiosity ranked higher in his mind and motivated him to stare towards the dancing figures, but his listlessness became dire. He fell asleep once more and woke up half an hour later, scratching at his face for what he thought were huge spiders. He sat up, terrified, and searched for the light switch. Everything was as exposed as can be, under the surgical light. The mean fear subsides as he saw hundreds of rose petals all over the sofa where he laid, and a few followed him across the room where he held onto the wall to keep balance. A question mark arose, but an inner calm flowed through him. He needed to piss the liters of toxins he carried through his 27 years of life, and so he made for the yellow door wearing a mask of contentedness, layering over his freshly rested face. Each step closer convinced him it was a victory march. A quiet giggle would intrude now and then from an unknown crevice, and rose petals still leaked from his body in great numbers. Sar stands before the yellow door and opens it. An intoxicating blue light introduced itself. He was faced with his reflection, waving at him as the many arms of Shiva. Quickly he found the light switches, and his bleached seal skin tone returned. Normalcy at last made its stay beyond the duration of this detox session. He stood before the toilet. Its lid was already up. He set a foot on the tub and pissed like the dog in the parking lot hours ago, forgetting for a moment what his purpose is, being on the third floor of a sketchy building. He saw to his right a framed drawing of Hal's latest work. He admits it to be Bert's best one yet. The ones in Bert's room were of the most extreme depictions of someone, for example, doing yoga in hell. This one before him now is a hopeful contrast. It seems to depict a man's grave struggle to do one natural sitting pose. The subject seems to be free falling, although it came with a view of a well-lit heavenly space full of constellations beaming with incredible colors. It was haunting that it was his face on this new decrepit creature, and installed were its body parts in ways the clouds glide through August rainstorms at night. The way Bert drew his spine was of an abnormal curvature, resembling the skeletal of a magnificent serpent. Nonetheless, it was outstanding. He couldn't help but fall into deepest love with it, as it was the most accurate mirror he's looked through his entire life. He was narcissistically turned on. Bert also got his nose right, so he was mighty appreciative of that as well. Sar washed his hands over the sink and splashed his face with cold water for a full 10 minutes, imagining he's underwater in some twilight-smacked ocean. There were chili pepper Christmas lights outlining the perimeters of the rectangular-shaped mirror. A cactus-shaped soap dispenser is placed on the counter, surrounded by real cacti. The way it all was, as it is, bestowed a swear-to-goodness, merciful, and rhythmic weightlessness to his once violently drumming heartbeats. A white-faced towel greeted his wakefulness with soft fibers of love, wiping the debris of anxiety clean off. After whipping himself back into shape, he heads out, past the yellow door with such resoluteness, now to find Halliburton. Sar follows a yellow carpet down the ends of another binding hall, and stood before a black door. It is left ajar. He'd pick inside, and saw a woman, hazy in features, drinking from a bottle, crying and laughing in amazement at what Bertie says without saying anything at all. Sar felt like he's not supposed to see any more further into Bertie's night with Ada. Then, what was his point in being there? He felt out of place. He's a waiting dog. Accepting what his mere presence meant to Bertie, he sat back down on the red love seat and popped another strawberry joy in his mouth. A smile kept him company, genuinely happy that Bert found a sanctuary here. He recalls the man-color board his grandmother made out of the orange tree his grandfather cut down with a chainsaw. Susanna was caught being unfaithful to Roman Sr., and so he took it out on the orange tree. And the best way Susanna thought to playfully earn back her husband's trust seems to be a game of chance she made by refashioning the wood. Roman Sr. left anyway, and left Susanna alone the last 30 years of her life. Not just that, but Roman Jr. and her grandson Sar had better opportunities elsewhere, scheduled to depart too. He recalls a story Daniel wrote in a letter about the game Susan had with her son, Roman, when Sar was only 7 years old. Apparently the game ended in favor of Roman's plans to leave. That board his friends uncovered from the box tonight was an omen of painful departures soon to be. Sar was never meant to remain in his sanctuary under the orange grove's dreamy immortal shade. One of its fallen candidates decided that his home was far away from there. Accepting this now made things feel new and stellar. Accepting that Bertie was probably next to leave brought a cosmic giggle to his sugar-pounded lips. Suddenly, soothing music grooved towards his listening heart. A white door had blended in with the paint job, so Sar didn't notice it there. The knob was painted white as well. A chameleon seems to have chosen the room's palette. Sar released a sigh and didn't realize he held on to it. The music did not die and instead encouraged Sar to partake in its existence. He opens the door, braving whatever weather arrives to shower over the original use. He's forever known. The music ran its dramatic chorus all over his spirit hairs, that he felt his body and heart synchronized with the newfound spectrums of possibilities. This clears up. The light inside this music box is strawberry joy. A woman inside a shower cylinder steps out slowly, her glossy flesh twinkling with droplets of hysteria, running down all over her feminine artifice. Her features were of disciplined madness. As soon as Sar met her piercing glance. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to enter like that. I heard your music," Sar explained. Amazingly enough, he held his ground as he spots a towel behind a chair and took it to this nameless fallen. "Thank you," she'd say with such uncompromising confidence, drying herself patiently, starting with her toes, all the way to her short curls of hair. After she wraps the towel over her body, she'll walk towards Sar, still fascinated as heck that he doesn't feel a bit intrusive. To watch a woman dry herself out of that controlled waterfall she emerged from. "No way, no way, no way, you're the man in the drawing. Am I hallucinating? Mother of God, it is you. Wow, wow, wow. Let me see you properly. Come closer." Sar listened to her melodious voice. Her tone harmonized with one peak of the song to the next. "Rainn, with two N's. Nice to meet you." "I'm Sarah Matthias, but Sar's good." "Is Sar good?" Rainn would ask, pulling a seat from under her desk. "I'm trying to be, but recently I found out trying is a purgatory state. Heaven truly is in the knowing, and the hell is when someone asks you if you're any good." Sar laughs, after he pulled that out of the crimson air. Rainn procured a hairbrush and hands it to Sar, aging backwards with each passive thrust she bestows her guest. Bristles up, she'd instruct, as if Sar had never held such technology before. He began to brush her hair to the pat lines of instruments the musicians paved. This one is called "The Birds Near Her House" by Lounge Lizards. I love how no one imposes their poetry into it and leave the instruments alone. "Hey, mind if you open the window for me?" She takes the brush from him and brushed her hair, imitating Sar's tenderness. Sar opens the window, and a breeze of warning kindness enveloped him and made its way to Rainn, standing up, pulling off her towel and hanging it on a hook with arms raised as if she's to lift off from a bud like a sojourning butterfly. "Hal's a great artist. He really got your eyes right. It's like a deep gaze into space with nothing in it." Rainn wraps an arm over Sar and lays her head on his shoulder. "Those rose petals all over me when I woke up, it was you." "Believe it is a happy thing you're seeing," Rainn would say, looking up to face Sar. "Every iota of his being is a pillar holding still, while everything surrounding it is in circular motion, like a carousel." "I'm trying," Sar would say, rather trapping himself and wavering inside his own verbal pastures. "Maybe next time you'll just know," Rainn would say, laying her cheek on his with soft eyes fluttering shut, breathing in the omnipresent. "People come and go. There's no permanent residence for us here. It's the nature of human beings to kill time, believing there is one person or one place. All our wishes can be met," Sar said in utter sorrow, splitting their connected cheeks with a tear that sped through, aiming to separate them. Instead, it was a glue. A knock came to the door. It sounded like great thunder. The two birds remained in their nests untouched by any of it. "Sar, buddy, are you in there?" Bert would wonder out loud. "I better go." Sar kindly unwraps from her and wiped his tears off her cheek. "Thanks for liking my music," Rainn would say, Smiling revealed the utter nakedness of her soul as it's been offered to Sar. Her invader. His, too. Sar exits out from the window and looks through on the other side, at the place that he was leaving, at Rainn putting on a grey night dress and opening a lamplight to reveal her despair in the mirror, opening a textbook and hiding within it, showing such discipline. She did not return that sword-like case Sar stabbed her with. She reacted unfeelingly. Suddenly, his eyes caught embers, crying at a realization. Susanna must have felt that way too, about their farewell. Sar walked at the far ends of the balcony, avoiding pots laid on the steel floor, flourishing and ripe with rosemary, basil, and thyme. Sar procured a cigarette from his pocket and lit it shakily, burning the tip of his nose for a painful second. He inhaled as deeply as he'd gazed into dawn's pale pigment, brushing across the sky. He held that one exhale for a while, until finally, rain began to pour. "There you are," Bert would say, sliding open a glass door. "Let me finish this," Sar would say with thick overtones. Bert was in concerned attention. "Come in, it's starting to pour." Sar inhales a well of dry air. "Okay, I'm coming in." Sar unwraps another strawberry joy and stares at the white door, while Bert sat on the wooden coffee table, reading Sar's desolate face and trusting that it'll recover on its own. She has this fascination for Clint Eastwood. Ada requests I draw him at his current age. It's for her sister. To treasure this guy's work. I told her I'd be happy to do it for free. Bert was glowing with a friendly radiance. The white door opens, and Bertie looks back, rather uplifted in spirit. "Nastenchka, you're up early." "Christ, I forgot, my bad. I woke you up, didn't I?" "Sorry about that. Any strays come out your window lately?" Bert gave the young woman a fatherly smile. "No strays," Nastenchka said, coming at Bert with such playfulness, grabbing at his face like a hanging fruit. "How's your sleep been, since your mother's funeral?" Bert asked the young woman. Nastenchka was making coffee, and Bertie's question tasted bitter, enough to wake her up. He took a first sip into that dark ocean. "My mother used to say, insomnia's a serious bitch. Honey, would you like your cup of coffee to go?" she asked, watching Bert lose himself at what Ada's twin sister used to say. "I was studying up all night. I got summer school next week. I wanted to get ahead," Nastenchka said, pouring coffee into a cup. She liked it black. "You're crazy. Add some milk and sugar with that," Bertie observed. He realized Sar has been a quiet mouse for a while. It was unlike him. "Hey Sar, would you like a cup? I got lots of reading to catch up on. Later, Halliburton." Nastenchka came forward to grab Bertie's face with her free hand, while getting a fresh look at Sar. An understanding was forged in that final contact, as her smile wedged subtly for Sar alone, and a slight nod of gratitude revitalized this being from the sad farewell he held for what felt like lifetimes. "Nastenchka, you haven't met Mr. Sahara Desert yet. He's a little shy, but he's the cutest little cactus flower you'll ever meet. Isn't that right, Sar?" Bert felt Sar's hand grab his face like Nastenchka did, adding a suffocating squeeze, which was Sar's reinvention. Ada came out of the yellow room, wearing just a towel over her body. She'll wrap her arms around Bert and kiss him hard on the lips, while her left hand escaped Bert's back and sought Sar's hand. Sar shook it in greeting. Ada kept her eyes closed with pleasure while Bert consumed the breath Ada kept in her lungs. Finally released from the clutches of their adorable performance, Sar got a closer look at Ada. "So you're the roommate, and the handsome man in the drawing. Wow, expertly done, Hallie. Got his nose perfect to the T." Ada poked Sar's charred nose. Sar got off the sofa and headed for the door. "Thank you for having us, Hallie. Let's." Turning to Sar, Ada licked her lips and said, "Hallie, why is he so melancholy? Is it because he didn't meet any of the girls?" "Hallie, when you're finished with the drawing, drop it off during work hours. I'll make it worth Sar's while." Ada sent a flying kiss towards Sar. You're my sole reason for coming here anyways, Adeline. They kissed, as a hammer would a nail. I'll get him home safe, Sar would promise Ada. She lit up, as expected. Then Sar dares to make her faint with joy. I have a copy of Dirty Harry. It's yours. Dirty who? Bert would ask. You're heaven sent, thank you, Sar. Ada did a few merry claps and came over to embrace him. Then she'll reach for the door. Bertie wraps his arms around her for one last goodbye at the threshold. I'm sorry again for your sister. It's a good thing you're doing, keeping Nastenchka in your care. You're truly good, you know that? Bert set a hand on her cheek, and she'll set a hand over it, kissing his knuckles a few times before letting him go. Bye, Halliburton. The door is shut. A few locks sounded, insincerely. The elevator opens before them moments later, not saying anything. Head and heart as clear as peace pretends to be in a declaration signing. Julianne appears as the door blossoms open. You're soaked, Hal observed. Rain. The cab dropped them off at the parking lot. The rain had stopped and eased into a funny drizzle. On and off in psychropenic doses. Bertie has made his way into the building's front entrance without Sar. I got to check on something. You go in. Bert didn't fight it and went in with a salute. Sar went deep into the parking lot, found the bird under the front wheels of the car, laughing its one broken wing, pushed itself off the roof somehow. Sar guided the bird with the side of his foot onto soft soil and grass. He searched around for a huge rock. Suddenly he heard Rainn's music. As soon as he killed the bird, he felt dread in an instant. Sar took his time going up 6 flights, letting Rainn's music heal his unrest. He even glimpses the boys on the 3rd floor, playing with the baseball. That made him unimaginably happy. Finally, he slides open the terrace door. After watching Harold through it for a good 5 minutes, sitting cross-legged on the middle cushion of their living room couch, laughing quietly to himself, watching Looney Tunes, Bert sat on an armchair, half there. He'd sip some chamomile tea and bite into a slice of grapefruit. Sar slides by like furniture shadow and makes for his room. Morning to you too, stud, Harold shouted. Startling Bert, his tea went all over his lap. It was a week later. Sar's cursing a headache first thing. He woke up on the floor. His pillow fell under the bed. He'll make for the bathroom with unsteady steps. Hears violin coughs sounding inside. Sees Jolene come out Bert's room with the babe on her arms, rocking it to sleep. Smokey Robinson's Cruise In is on the record player. Harold is on Bert's bed, cutting his fingernails like he does. It was his odd form of vengeance. Bertie has the cleanest room in the entire apartment. The man took care of each detail. It looks like a cheap motel room in the middle of nowhere. Jolene looked gorgeously in form, despite having had the baby a week ago. She's already donning a pretty designer dress and a hairstyle that is magazine cover worthy. She's photogenic in all aspects, in all angles, and her smile woven auras of divine security. She inched closer to kiss Sar on the cheek. Are you well? You look sickening. Any bad dreams you'd like to tell me about? Jolene scaled through her tone as to not wake her sleeping doll. Jimbo came into view, setting an empty tape gun and a medium-sized box. He wore an undershirt and blue jeans, hair all combed back. His expression was of celebration and renewal. Sar doesn't dream, honey. It's solid black skies in there. Is he asleep? Jolene would ask to her husband. Jimbo would wave a hand over Sar's unblinking eyes, snaps at his ears. Sleepwalking, maybe? Jimbo reported. Jolene gives Jimbo a mean look. Not him, dummy. Your spawn. Is the divine thing retired into rest? She'll ask as if scripted by one of Jimbo's fantasias. Jimbo kissed his son on the forehead, then takes Sar by the skull and kissed his forehead too. I don't know which divine thing I love more. Take him, Papi, my arms are tired. Jolene carried the babe onto Jimbo's arms. The three began swaying as if infused to one another. Watching them made Sar scarily nauseous, but he thought it was an earned show. A few more harsh coughs detonated inside the washroom. The 4 of them listened, including the infant, who squirmed rather suddenly. The new parents are staring daggers at the door. Jimbo lapsed with Sar. They understood. A toilet flushes, and Jolene's disgusted expression remained elegantly sketched. Harold moved on to his toenails by then. The building's on fire routine? Jimbo said to Sar, genuinely glad to see each other. When the house burns, one forgets even lunch, Jolene would say, finding where the tape begins, and pulling it free with a ripping violence. She sets it in the tape gun firmly. Yes, but one eats it later in the ashes. Jimbo was a full moon glowing over Jolene, a paradise entirely his. Who said that? Sar asked, forgetting that he needed to piss. Fritz, Jimbo would answer, miming to raise a leg, readying to kick the bedroom door open. He'd adjust the babe on his shoulder, offering him to Sar. I can't. I'm hangover. Bert and I drank last night. We visited a jewelry store at 1 in the morning. Don't ask. Then we ended up coming back here, drinking lots of bourbon and frying fish. Jimbo listened, endlessly fascinated. Jolene was a silent mouse, admiring the 2.5 men as Bert ascends with more vibrating cops. Harold appears to have finished cutting off his dead skin and met them all by Bert's door. Halliburton still thinks the bathroom is soundproof. Jolene covers her mouth to press a lid on a flood of laughs. She made sure they're all watching her before a grand idea unmasked itself onto the soundscapes. She'll kick the door. Bert, how long? Nice knowing you, Harold would say. Jimbo walked inside Sar's room and closed the door, humming a song amidst laughter. Plants need watering in the terrace, Sar said, kissing Jolene quickly on the cheek. Jolene was all alone and afraid. She fled for Sar's room too. On the disparaged bed with sheets undone on each corner, lay Jimbo and Fritz covered in blankets that hadn't been washed in months. Jolene opens a window to reimburse the room from the smell of abandonment and counted the grayness of the walls for the lack of hope by letting the sunlight in. Sliding open light chartreuse curtains, she lifted the cool cement blankets and embraced her husband inside it, staring over his shoulder at Fritz, dreaming lightly, unconditional of where he is. Your father and I made you in this bed. Jimbo turns softly around and grabs a tight hold of Jolene, pressing himself onto her lovingly in a matter of seconds. They're intertwined, kissing with a deep well of crave, rejoicing in their breathlessness. Let's make Fritz an older brother. You're gonna fly away. Glad you're going my way. I love it when we're cruising together. And music is played for love. Cruising is made for love. I love it when we're cruising together. Later that afternoon, Bert calls Sar to his room. He'd stand before his wall mirror holding 2 suit jackets. He motions for Sar to come inside as he's known to do. Singing in the Rain is playing on his TV, mute. Black or white, Bert would ask. Sar a real game show like? Neither, Sar would say. Be damn useful and choose. I don't care how you look, Sar would say, half meant and donning a half smile. I'm seeing Ada tonight. The piece is done getting framed. I'm picking them up now, Bert would explain while holding his options ridiculously high over his face. Can I come? Sar would ask. Frustrated, Bert asked again about which jacket. Neither, Sar repeated. Why should I bring you? You embarrassed me that night. You couldn't just stay in the caramel room and eat the entire bowl of strawberry joy. No, you had to sneak into a 17-year-old's room. What's wrong with you? Black or white? I thought she looked older. Did Rainn say anything else? Sar was slowly easing into the white. Rainn. I know all the girls there by their stage name and birth name. There's nobody named. Bert held onto the white jacket and puts the black one back inside the closet. Crisis Road, is that what she's calling herself these days? Are you done getting mad at me? Yes, I am. Harold enters the room, pushing a computer chair without its wheels. Keep the useless thing, the wheels are in the parking lot if you want them. Fuck this chair. Harold exits and rubs the back of his neck where a bruise shone dark purple. Bert puts on the jacket and was satisfied with his autonomous decision to go white tonight. You look all white, Ellie, Sar teased as he sat on the wheelless chair. He found the remote and unmutes the film, completely caught off guard by the hypnotic dance number on the alphabets. They're still sleeping in your room, Harold told me earlier. They might not make it to Jackson's bar. There's a storm coming in hard. Later tonight, Bert would say. We should be home by then to see them off. Bert looked saddened. Would Bert like a tie? Sar wondered. Pretty please. Sar entered his room carefully, seeing the three of them in deep rest. They are driving all night later to live with Jolene's parents at their house. Jimbo was happy about it. Kind people find other kind people, Jimbo would tell him this once. The lovely thought makes him feel kind for a second. He'd open his drawer, picks out a red tie, sequenced by calm blue waves. As soon as he acquires the tie in his hand, and Joy is emancipated by the view of Jimbo being all white, a bluebird enters in from an open window. Sar leaves the door ajar. Harold is in his room, sitting on a wooden chair he borrowed from the kitchen table, looking over a busy desk. He'd take a spoonful of chickpeas from a can and munches hard, staring at a huge Oxford dictionary like the Holy Ghost. The metallic propellers above him were deafening, like a woodsaw cutting into bone. He empties the can of chickpeas and tosses it at the trash can, getting it in. He began ripping one giant page at a time, and being so deeply into his meditation that he didn't notice a bird flying in. Sar leans back on his seat, never comfortable enough inside any vehicle. He remembers growing up being driven by his grandfather and throwing up after each ride. There were barely any cars where their villa was laid. Yet Roman drove as if being chased. It was best with Susanna, who kept his young mind stimulated during those drives, and knew just about who lives in each house they drove past. It became a game to see who had a better memory. Sar never fails to forget, until he gave up entirely in caring, how well his memory is about who the people were that resides there. Quit moving, you're like a child. Jesus, Bert would say, starting the engine and having one arm over Sar to still his body. I'm sorry. Sar melts onto his seat. I'm sorry too for crossing the line that night. You know I wouldn't, he'd say, looking ahead at the open road's therapeutic hold on his awareness of things other people make us do. Why, Ada, I mean, didn't you used to date girls that had better and more professional roles in society? Sar bit his tongue after saying, What Ada does don't make much difference to me. It doesn't matter. It's precious and you wouldn't understand. I understand a bit. You were someone else there. Someone you liked being. That's always an attractive way to feel. Sar began to play with the FM stations. It is the sweetest thing next to Strawberry Joy that I'll ever find in this world. There's never a dull moment when you get a taste of her substance. You just know, Bert said, then dons a confident smile as if an astrologist trying to get the gist of cosmic love by testing yellowed pages of old philosophy literature. Did you sleep with all her girls before you made your way to the top of the coupe? Sar would ask, as Bert hit the brakes abruptly. Sar couldn't decide on a station, so he closed it, totally. Enough talk about the henhouse. Focus on Jimbo's last day at the apartment. And don't let anyone in on what you know about me and Ada. It's precious and you'll never understand it, Bert would say rather comically, aiming to entertain his neighboring seat. A friend who wouldn't act all serious as to know its futility. A friend who knows it is protocol to dance in the face of terrifying truth. Okay, I get it. Don't have a stroke. Bertie parks his car on the curb and heads out. Sar came out his end and meets Bert where he stood, squinting his eyes. Speaking of hens, got a bucket of wings. Need money? I'm good on cash. I'll see you back here in 15. Upon exiting the restaurant, he was drawn to make a shortcut through an alley. His untied shoelaces endeavors to vex him. It was getting all in the mud, so Sar decided to park his ass somewhere to fix it. Making a turn, he spots 3 cooks sitting on milk crates, wearing different colored aprons. Their eyes were shut in TM meditation, whispering a mantra. Thy will be done. Thy will be done. Thy will be done. Sar, after many attempts, made impossible knots instead, offing his shoes. His heavy breathing and anxious movements aggravated the man in their RGB formation. Red Apron stood up from his crate. Hello, fellow human being. I'm so sorry I interrupted your sacred thing. Sar was indeed profoundly apologetic. Nah, it's alright, dude. Let me. Sar gave him the green light. There, that's better, Sar would say about the left shoe. Then he is saddened by the right foot's muddy condition. Sar raised it, and without saying anything, the stranger understood the order. No biggie, I'll teach you. One day, there were two clouds in the sky. They got into a fight, because one wanted to rain and the other wanted to snow. But in mixing together, they realized they were becoming thick. They were blocking the sun. They both agreed they don't want that. So they separated and peacefully floated on opposite sides. And there we have it, a sunny day. Christ, Sar said, bowing with gratitude. Go on, take it easy. We'll decay anyway. Sar lifts a hand in farewell as he went out the alleyway. He spots the car and saw Bert placing the sketch of Clint Eastwood inside the trunk. Nice frame, Sar remarks, getting inside the car. Got the wings? Bertie would ask, as Sar produced the bag. Bertie set a hand in and began eating one, real aggressively too, eating as delightful oils of sunlight brushed across their sober faces. Sar took a wing as well. Let me drive, Sar would say. Bert stops chewing. They arrived by the parking lot moments later. The wings were all gone. Nothing but bone remains inside the bucket. They both agreed to keep this part of the journey to themselves. As Bertie parked, he spots Jimbo putting boxes in his van, and Jolene putting the little man in his car seat. Harold is laying on the grass, watching everyone doing their karmic dance with such air and featheriness. Pigeon Song by America plays in Jimbo's car radio. Harold saw Sar at the wheels and stood up, unbelieving of what he sees. Is that Sar on the wheel? Halliburton, have you gone suicidal? Sar parks the car and slams the horn at Harold. Jolene meets Sar by the driver's seat with a mean look that somehow remained aesthetically royal. She'll charge at Sar to punish him for waking up the babe, but Sar caught her just in time to convert her swings into a hug. They took a few breaths together before separating with pure joy. Jolene had watery eyes as she lays a long, patient kiss on Sar's lips. Any left in the car? Jolene asked, happily teasing Sar. There's nothing left, Sar answered, as he opens the van door for her. Inside it, she waved goodbye to Bertie and Harold. The sideshow acts were watching Sar imploringly, with fangs of envy. Do we get a kiss? Bert would shout, as Jolene pressed her window closed, smiling at the two bozos walking towards her window, waving goodbye with sincere love. Jimbo went around, pulling Bert and Harold away and gave them both a hard kiss on the lips, almost landing one on Bertie, after taking a kick on the knee. Harold was caught off guard, wiping his mouth angrily, eyes in shock with immense terror. Jolene was overdosing in joy, wiping her tears with Fritz's bib. It had a bit of green vomit, but she was too overjoyed to notice. Get the fuck out of here, Jimbo, Bert would blare, holding back his sorrow. Call me, you stud, Harold would joke, waving at Jimbo, winking flirtatiously. Jimbo went over to Sar. The last farewell always gets the biggest jaw. Your father called me during the funeral. I'm sorry about Susan. Jimbo took Sar's hand, shook it, and slowly returned it at his friend's side. I'll miss you more than I miss her, Sar said with a tormented breeze to his tone. Jimbo said appropriately as he kissed Sar on the forehead. In a matter of seconds, Jimbo got into his car, drove out the parking space. His arm emerges from the window, farewelling. The sunset met the tree where they stood. The green grass turned orange, as if they're being slow cooked. Harold touched his lips again. Bertie sat down against the fence, and Sar looked up the tree's skirt as cold winds shook its foundation. The sky darkens, and rain began to pour like artillery missiles. They remained there longer than they should, as if being cleansed of all karmic juice. No further actions in Kuei. Each fell on that fragile wish. Each arrived to realize the immensity of what they're asking, and returned inside. 3 slugs, 1 lonely shell. I don't know why I'd done it. Honest, it ain't like me. But I ain't sad now I done it. 'Cause a baby boy has got to be free. That evening, Harold calls the 2 shipwrecks into his room. They were both tasked to help him pick up Hundreds of dictionary pages off the floor. A tall pile lays on Harold's desk. A few of these pages are pink with droplets of blood. Harold lays on the bed, throwing a tennis ball up in the air, staring at the metal propellers, wondering what else he could get through. How did the bird get here? Bert would ask, making his pile. I don't know how. It was here delivering a message from the heavens. Message received, I guess, Harold would say, catching the tennis ball with a fine grip. Harry, what's with the dictionary pages? Sar asked. The ball lands on Harry's face, rolling underneath the desk. He crossed his arms and enjoyed watching his friends on their knees. Well, if you really want to know, I'll tell you. After my leg heals, I will fly back home. I'm sick of living here. I'm tired of stocking boxes at the supermarket or cooking crap food at the restaurant. I'm done with all of it. In my empty house, inside my childhood room, I'm going to start pursuing what I want. Damn, man, what is it you want? Sar stopped stacking and found Harry's wide eyes. Black pockets were under each lid. Harry looked worrisomely exhausted. I'm going to be a full-time writer. Yeah, and I want to be in a Playboy magazine. I guess we're all shouting out our dreams. What are yours, Halliburton? Sar asked with haste. Astronaut, Bertie answered. I never told anyone what I wanted to do because I was afraid of ridicule. Go on, I can handle whatever benign things you're going to say. Go on, act like bruised cunts. We're sorry, Sar would say. Bert nodded in agreement, pretending to close his invisible space helmet. What would you write about? Your life's not that interesting. Oh, write about Bertie, his memorable self for sure. For the entire book, riddle him with this question. What is it like falling in love with a whore? Sar shielded his face as Bert took his papers and threw it at him sideways. Relax, Sally, I'm just teasing you. Sit back down, Sar commanded, and Bertie laid onto the pile of papers like a cat, forgiving Sar by faking to sleep on his lap. Good Bertie. Sar pat Sally's sweaty hair and searched for Harry's offended smile. What is it with the both of you, so quick to live and let go? Harold asked. If you choose people as wisely as your words, Harry, then you'll be a little easier on them when they make a mistake or say something awful, Sar said. You don't have to leave, but hey, if you can't get any work done with us here, then go. No one is stopping you. We look forward to what you'll create, Bert would add as he takes the tennis ball and hands it to Harold. I had this neighbor growing up. She was still lucid in her 80s. I'll never forget this one story she told me. Harold sat up and looked down at his audience. One moment in eternity, the sun met the moon for tea. The sun is first to speak. Hey moon, what have you got there? That sure is a lot of paperwork. Laughing, the sun would say, I can help you lighten the load. Stubbornly, the moon refused the sun's help, saying, One day, one night, just be patient. The moon fades for a moment. And so the sun takes the stack of papers, turning them to ashes. The moon crossed his arms, turning to the sun, saying, So, what do you think? The sun was all hot, with a fiery question for the moon. Is that really all they do? Is that really all people do? The moon spoke and turns into a happy crescent, all while the sun flares excitedly, listening. Yes, that's what they like most to do with their limited time on Earth. God caught word of their conversation. He was not all too chummy about it. As penance, the sun explodes into a supernova, and the moon gathers itself into new planets. God blew the ashes free. It'll spark into trillions of stars all across the timeless heavens. Wish impossible things, he whimpers to the glistening embers. Wish impossible things. It's midnight, and already the two bachelors arrived at their best behavior inside the Samsara cleansing spa, passing each of the ladies present 1 rose each. Dirty Harry began to play on the VHS player. July Ann had an idea to keep the girls late for the movie. Sar sat shyly on the couch, getting looked at by all the girls in their best after-work clothes, while a few remained in their sensual costumes, being most ambitious for Sar's attention. Everyone, this is Sar. Everyone be nice to my brother, Bert would announce, looking at each girl respectively, a few eternal seconds each, while on the hunt to find Ada amongst them. Anyone seen Ada? He finally asked, looking rather hurt. She went out to meet a client downtown. There's these parties. Julianne blushed rather than the rose she held. Bert places a strawberry joy in his mouth to keep himself from bursting out with rage. A dark-skinned girl with a gray sweater would wonder out loud, directly to Sar. Your eyes are wandering. Are you not satisfied with the varieties? What shade of skin do you prefer on a lady? What fairness of beaut? Tell me. Sasha, leave him alone. He's clearly not into women. A girl in a white tank top, with bunny ears, would observe, listening amidst the movie that was on, with only a couple of them really invested in what they're watching. I'm sorry about them. Want anything to drink, honey? Beer would be fine. That will be done, Bunny would say. Sar took the beer and drank it deep. Bert was in the kitchen, pouring himself a whiskey on ice. He'd stare down the sink, while drinking his cup empty, unbuttoning his suit jacket in a randomly chosen order. Is Nasenchka here? Bunny would announce, seeing that Sar was staring at the white door instead of the flat-screen TV. No, she's not. Where is that girl? She went off to a hot date with a classmate. You should have seen the stud who picked her up. Couldn't believe what he saw. Karen, you didn't have to let him in. Turned him into a blushing tomato. That kid was so adorable. That was a nice duck stew. The way it hugged all of him. Sasha said, shedding light on this question mark. Sar felt a stinging in his ears that only he was harmed increasingly by. Sar finished his beer and set it down. Karen stood up, but Sar got up the couch and took the departing man's hand. Sar turns to face her. I know who you are. Who am I? Sar wonders. You're the man in the yellow room. Sar shook her hand off softly, as not to create a scene, even though all eyes were on them now, and so is the fact that a celebrity was upon them. Each one got up at their own time to have a better look at Sar. Bertie, let's. Already? See, girls? We're not his cup of tea, Karen would say. This is for Ada. Nobody opens it but her. Yeah. Bert carried a huge frame, wrapped in brown paper, and set it on the table. Bertie took another drink down and lapped at the bottle he finished alone, setting it in the center of the table as a vase for a yellow rose. I'll tell her you dropped by. Nice seeing you, Hallie. Sasha opens the door. Julianne closes the movie and changed the channel to MTV. The girls all stood up like spring weeds and sways to hip-hop. Sar followed Bert's tail as he almost tripped his way out the pink door, charging for a grand finale of lapping matters to disfigure his facial architecture, even more so than it already was after drinking 5 cups alone. I'm driving, Sar would say. Yeah, of course. Thanks. Bert sat on the nasty hallway floor, leaning against the wall, hands wiping the heat off his face. Sar, could you do me a favor? What is it, buddy? Sar would say, looking at the pink door, shivering at the thought of ever passing through it again. Get my drawing back, please. I'd hate to go in there. Bertie, fuck. Okay, wait here. Sar went back in, and moments later, his face arrived, with layers thick of learned red, holding the frame as well as the bottle with the yellow rose. No, just the frame. You can leave that. Bertie laughs and held his artwork, slow dancing with it, as Sar sets the bottle with the rose by the pink door. The two walks unevenly to the elevator, feeling horse-kicked in the heart. The elevator was out of service, and a sign, badly written and single-taped, spoke on the ground, with shoe marks all over it. The two heads down 3 flights of stairs. Bert seems to have his faculties together, not missing a step, despite the tornadoes that had orgies inside his stomach. Then, he'd trip on the last step, dropping the frame and shatters the glass from within. The fuck's the matter, Hal? Sar picked up the artwork and heard the glass singing inside the brown paper. Bert led the way, hoping Sar would trail his bat as to translate his soul's damaged frequency. They arrived through the back of the building before a dumpster, its paint job rocking the shade of abuse chartreuse. Sar held his ground by the threshold of the back door, hesitant to speak to Bert. Just help me out here, man. Bert would say, trying to push the huge wet lid open. So what? She's out with a client. It's just another bozo. She wants you. She's probably being passed around on the top floor of a condominium. She promised me she'll stop giving herself away like a... Sar pressed the shattered frame against Bert as he found a mop rod in the corner and popped the lid open. The loud sound woke a few rats, doing laps around them, then fled into the abyss. A whore. Yes, she's been giving her cunt away before it even bled. But some people change, Halliburton. Christ, I never thought you'd be so easily broken up by a woman you can't have. You're never going to meet who's next if you're stuck on Ada. Let's just go home. Bert lifts his artwork and throws it inside the dumpster. With him on one side and Sar on the other, they close the lid shut. Fuck what Jimbo has. The entire trip back is a blistering fog all the way through. They arrived at their apartment feeling gutted, with entrails licking out, from the spa to the dumpster out back, on the car floor to the conquered climb 6 flights. Wanting nothing, fleeting from one hollow ground to the next, hoping to make it on their respective beds and transport into the next life, or a transitory dream state. Sar steps a foot inside his bedroom, loosens his tie, and lets his jacket fall to the floor. Drunkenly, he skids to the bed, laying face forward. Just then, his face felt moist and funny, minus the laughter. He fumbles for the nightstand to open a small lamp, finding the bed all riddled with viscous red fluid concentrated onto random areas. Tiny blue feathers lay there in peace, taking ownership of where its shadow warrants. Bloody blue feathers clung on his arms and leg, and a pretty orange beak tunneled on his left cheek. Horrified, he finds the bluebird gutted beyond repair, nailed to his door. He runs out of his room in a vengeful mood. Harry! Bert lived on the threshold of his room for minutes that felt like an entire moon cycle. It is lit by a small lamp on his desk. His crying was soundless. He'd produce eerie breathing patterns he had no control over. Unmoving, his subconscious distracted him with a prayer. Defeated, he was numb from within, organs bending incompetence, so as to deliver him into oblivion, and turn him into a non-working thing. Ada lay naked on his bed. She lay there, conveying absolute peace, even though she's been gutted and bleeding out for hours, with twinkling stab marks on her neck and chest. Her exposed breast caught the moonlight most generously. Her sockets were deep and grotesque. Her eyes were colorless, staring up at the ceiling fan on low, slicing and slicing as if it was all it can say about what it saw. Bert kicked open Harold's door, enters and sees his entire wall covered with the dictionary pages. A note is written on the wall over his desk with crimson ink. It read, "People empty me. I got to get away to refill." Sar sat on the sofa, holding his breath and exhaling with massive effort. Bert's careful footsteps compromised his last ounce of sanity. He'd burst into terrifying cries in fearful bolts, afraid to move and of movement itself. Bert passes through like furniture shadow, combing through their desolate apartment. He turns his neck towards the icy breeze coming from the terrace door. It is open, all the way. Bert saw Sar's shivering arm, pointing like a nude branch at it. Bert kept his calm as he steps out into the terrace. He sees silvery steel rope tied to the bars. The knots consisted of countless infinities inside tightly knit circles. On the end of this rope is Harold, who resembled a stone gargoyle, perched on top of a 1,000-year-old church. He's probably scaling through the supernova now, and will outlast the life in each new planet the disintegrating moons will permit into Providence. Bert sits down on the milk crate, trying to eject gallons of tears, but couldn't. He lifts the bongos to his lap and began lightly drumming. Sar passes through the sliding door and sits in front of Bert. He is setting up the Macaulay board, placing 4 stones on each spool. Sar began to play and landed on an empty note. While Bert remembers his last game with Harold and is grateful that Sar gave him a chance to redeem his play. "What are we playing for?" Bert asked. Sarah landed safely home. Your call.